Welcome back to the UKEL, and we are officially at the halfway point. My name is Trajan. I'm blessed once again to be joined by one of our wonderful guest Colors. Reclamation is back on the casting desk today.
Hello, hello, hello. Thank you for having me. That's probably the best introduction I've had so far.
Well.
So we'll take. No offense to everyone else, but you know.
Well, don't get too comfortable, mate. Because listen, as a coach and someone that's been extensively reviewing the UKEL games so far, honestly, Thursday looked like far too much fun for you, mate. So I'm going to be testing that analytical brain a bit today, and let's get into our first matchup with Demise versus Hive.
Okay, so matchup of the day, in my opinion. You've got Hive on the one side, who have been showing in recent weeks far better performances. They seem to have fixed a number of their issues that they had in closing out games, and then they're already a team that accelerates fairly well. And then Demise, you have on the opposite side, who typically try to take strategies that they like to give up early game and just say you're not going to punish us, and then they just accelerate away from having scaling compositions. These two, I think, are just going to clash. You're going to see Hive come at them early, and then Demise trying to hold on, and I'm really excited to see how this is going to play out. So I'm promising you probably a little bit of action in that first 10 minutes, 15 minutes.
Yeah, for sure. Given that this is the rematch of the first game of the season, it was the hardest Demise Academy had been pushed in the season so far, I think it's fair to say. And I'm excited to see if Hive can take what they've learned so far, and as you say, what they kind of rebuilt up to look and take down Demise Academy, or at the very least, give these guys a challenge, because they don't seem to be finding one anywhere else.
I mean, you're looking at this at the previous weeks, and we're kind of like, oh, we think this team could punish them. We think this team have given themselves the right tools to do that. And then we just see Demise go, no, knock them over, no, not having it, not today. And they just keep going, and you're just like, can anyone actually stop these guys? They've had top lane switch out, doesn't seem to affect them. They've had other things thrown out their way, with like just compositionally wise, where I think they've been draft wise, they're in like draft Nirvana, and they still just don't care. And now we get, on the other hand, Hive, though, as we said, Hive still coming in here, and as they are fixing a number of their issues, this is probably going to be one of the times where I'm looking at it and going, Hive is one of those teams where I'd expect them to hit Demise where they are weakest, or where they should be weakest with the way that they draft. Will that change today, just on a one-off? We will see. So,
okay, mate. We're gonna get straight into this pick ban, and what I'm looking for here, I'm looking for a Rise ban, Reclamation. That's what I'm searching for, because we've been looking for it all season. No one seems to have found it yet. Let's see if Hive want to deny Kurosh this stellar pick for him today.
So we're already seeing Seraphine gone, Thresh on the other side. So typically I was seeing that Seraphine would be a red-sided ban. Rise is gone. There's your answer. Your prayers are answered. And then we should potentially see either an Udyr ban come out by one of these teams. I assume it's going to be blue side here to get rid of it. We'll see. Lulu taken away after seeing potentially shield composition from top lane. And also the flex.
Yeah, it's been interesting watching Wilhelm's pool so far. Starting out, is the meta when we started seemed very suited to him with the Olafs and things coming through, and then he just kind of moved away from the meta a little bit, pulled the Sejuani back out, went back to the roots of Wilhelm, and that seemed to be kind of one of the points where they started turning it around. But now he's pulled out the Lilia as well, so he's kind of gone back to his roots, but is now able to follow the meta as well. So I think that I'm really excited to see what Wilhelm can do and what he chooses to go for in this really tough matchup.
Now I'm going to go out on a limb here and say either Udyr is going to get through, and then we're going to see something like a Karthus or something coming to answer it, or we go a different route where it's completely left open, and then we get to see some fun things that get picked into it, and I want to see if teams prioritize it, or they just go for comfort, and they go towards something that they feel comfortable with, because it's a strategic choice against what they think is best as well. So let's see what they go with.
Last time we did, of course, have Vanguard on the Twitch and Fuyu on the Lux with a Lux Sona combo, and last game I think Fuyu did play that Seraphine as well, which of course been banned away, so I'm wondering if we're going to get a meta matchup in bot lane at some point with these two teams, you know? Vanguard has been playing the Kai'Sa a lot for the last few games, is now their most picked champion in the season. They've been performing a lot better on it, and to be honest, I quite like to see them just stick with that and give themselves the best chance against Fuyu and Little Pants.
So I've got the funny feeling here this will probably be the meta pick where you might see a Hecarim or something. Just something that can farm up. It's not necessarily great into Udyr. Udyr does outpace it because Lilia is now gone. But as you see, there is the Karthus immediately locked in as a response, which I assume is going to go towards jungle. This suits Demise to a T. They're a 1-3-1 team. You've now got a Karthus that can wave clear and provide ultimate assistance on the side lanes. And you're more than likely going to see a Kai'Sa or something kind of wave clear just from the bot lane now. And then we start going into prioritizing their solo lanes later on.
Yeah, it was Wilhelm piloting the Karthus the last time these two teams matched up, and that did not pan out. But the Yone is locked in. Sultan, of course, playing that in the top lane before, though I imagine Kurosh can pilot it in the mid lane as well. So still a little bit of a flex, but not maybe the pick we expected to come out now.
See, I wasn't expecting this, because not so many people are so confident just to blind pick Yone. But I guess this guy just throwing the gauntlet down and just said, screw you, I'm doing this. And then just seeing what you answer with. So it's over to Hive now. Like, what are you going to throw back at them? You've seen this rotation, so they take TF here. I think that's a really nice rotation with Udyr specifically. You get a solid CC, which allows you to run them down. You've got single target, Vayne lock-in, massive comfort here. Immediate LeBlanc response, though.
Yeah. That seems planned by the speed they had that there. I'm not sure if we've actually had Vayne God's Vayne come out so far this season. It does tend to be a permaban against him, but the Kai'Sa's available chooses to go for the ultimate comfort. This is shaping up to be a more interesting draft than I was already expecting, to be honest.
So, already logged in with strong solo lanes on Demise's side. Now, I'm not going to lie here, I probably expect another Soda ban or something out just to say, like, we're not doing this.
Just please don't.
And the opposite answer to that then becomes Hive is like, okay, how do we then beat this 1-3-1? We've got single target CC. Twisted Fate is a nice addition. He can go to a solo lane and he can cheat prior with his ultimate and help out with his other teammates. But now you need that team fight engage. Like, how do we force when Demise set up on these side lanes? And that's what I'm looking for. So Demise's side, that's what I'd be looking for bans, and then we go from there. But Camille gone, Gragas gone. Seems like standard weak side options getting rid of here, and then the Karma ban as well.
Yeah, Gragas taken away from Little Pants, denying them to run back the Gragas Yone combo that generated, as Viperine put it, the cleanest ace he had ever seen, which probably was, to be honest. It was absolutely nutty.
I will not contest that.
It was absolutely nuts. So let's see what Hive want to get into here. They've got one more ban left, and they still have, assumedly, the top lane and support locked in. Zerg, of course, has been really favouring these engaged supports, but has, at times, looked a little disconnected from the rest of Hive, I must say.
I'm not too big a fan of the Alistar ban. Partly because if you know a composition is going to 1-3-1, why the hell would you want to get rid of an Alistar? He's susceptible at level 1, he's not exactly great with helping with wave clear, and I know he's tanky and maybe difficult to pick off, but that's about all. So you can see here, he's going with the Xayah pick. AoE feathers, allows him to be fairly autonomous, can do his own thing, doesn't really rely on his teammates. I think that's a really nice pick up there for them.
Yeah. Seems to be the newest, just kind of, we need a good character in this lane that has a decent matchup into anything that you're going to pull out, and now that even the Kai'Sa hasn't even touched the table this time, bans or picks wise, it's going to come out still for Fuyu there, and we'll see what they want to answer with it on the side. The Leona is still available for Zerg, the Bard is available, is something that he can play a lot. They're going to look in the Renekton for that top lane matchup.
Okay, if they do take the Soraka, this is actually quite smart. Because it is just a soft counter towards Karthus and being ultimate for ultimate trade, and then also scaling. And they've locked in Renekton, which assumes they want to play for top side and play through top lane with TF Ulma over the top. It's like the discount version of Camille Galio.
Sure.
And then you end up with weak side Soraka. She's not entirely that weak. She can be a lane bully. That's how she should be played. So whatever they lock in here. And honestly, I mean, there's a perfect Rakan angle, which maybe not so great into Soraka herself.
But
or there is the opportunity with Leona as well.
Go for it. Yeah, and they've got that. That is a little bit of setup. You know, you said you wanted them to find somewhere to start a fight, somewhere to engage and get something going, and Rakan can do that. They play around the vision, so that's going to be the lock-in there. And I mean, this has a lot of characters, or some champions we've not seen before yet, some champions we just haven't seen played by these players. I'm excited to see what Nice Guy Dom can do on the Twisted Fate particularly, because obviously Kurosh played it against them last time. Nice Guy Dom has come into the mid lane for Hive and has been having a lot more success, but it has been on more kind of supportive utility things like the Zillion, and now he's got a very active role to play on this mid lane shape.
And I mean, we're looking at this, and I'm saying, okay, you have some really nice options to play through top lane early. You have Renekton against Yone. Yone is probably looking at that and going, I do not want to be here until I hit 2 items. I do not like this. I do not want this. And TF is just going to say, no, you don't have a choice. We're going to force you into these decisions where you're going to have to trade. On the other hand, you've got Demise Academy. They're actually playing a stronger bottom lane than normal. I mean, they're not taking full scaling, so you're actually probably going to see Fuyu and Little Pants here try to go that little bit extra aggression and try and answer out on the other side of the map. And as we load in here, we'll start to see how this unfolds, and I'm just more intrigued to see what maybe comes out at level 1, considering the strength of both teams.
Yeah, this does kind of... It plays into... looks like it maybe plays into a little bit of some of the stats that I was looking for here. Here's my first little test for you, Reclamation. I'm going to tell you some stuff. I wanted to tell you what you think about it. So Demise and Hive both have almost identical total kills and assists for this season. Demise has 414, Hive has 410. They're the second and third highest in the league. But Demise's collective KP is some of the lowest in the league, less than 60% average, whereas Hive's collective KP, some of the highest in the league with over 70% average. Discuss. 5 marks.
Okay, so compositionally wise, you've got the philosophies here, right? Demise 1-3-1 team, and they always consistently try to solo kill in those side lanes. That's where it's coming from. You're just seeing basically rotations from mid to top lane and covering, so you're only getting 2 people involved. Versus Hive are always that team that are basically saying we're going to group up as 4 and smash you and build that early lead and go from there. So you're just seeing statistically the how they play out and what they're doing and how they play. Kill percentage wise, I mean, I know for a fact that Hive typically were bringing TF previously as well, which was then enabling side laners, and they were trying to do Demise light in a way, but then end up grouping up after. So I think that just kind of perfectly explains it, really. And then past that, I mean, if you've got any other quick stats we're going to get thrown out here, like, are we going to go down to KDAs? That's
all right. We'll let you off for that one. You had a good enough answer there. You're saved until the next game. Maybe we'll have some more to throw at you. But you mentioned that Sultan was kind of throwing down a bit of a gauntlet in topside. Blind picking the Yone and I Won't Lose has taken the Renekton. Throwing down a gauntlet to Rengus in the topside is a pretty bold statement. This guy has played a wide variety of champions, was hailed as probably the best top laner coming into this one, and now that Sin is gone, you know, potentially could be filling into that role with the help from Nice Guy Dom. You know, do you think Sultan is going to have a place in this game, or is he literally just got to sit back and just be a team fight monster, or is there room to impact?
I think there is room to play. I think it's room that comes at 2 items, but then there is the issue of what happens prior to getting those 2 items. Like how is he going to get there if he is dived on wave 3? What happens if he is then susceptible to when TF hits 6? And I think that's probably going to be about 4 minutes 50 to 5 minutes, and then they're going to try and set that up again, and there's going to be multiple dive attempts, or at least I hope there's going to be multiple dive attempts into that top lane. How do you then deal with this? What are your answers? Because you've got a Karthus and a LeBlanc, and although LeBlanc might get priority early on and then maybe in 3 like with kill pressure, but then you have Udyr versus Karthus, which Karthus is great for helping out that clear, but he needs priority laners to then start invading and start getting ahead of this Udyr and start using his early levels against that Udyr. That's the whole point of the real pick here. But whether that comes to fruition, given what they already locked in, then that's where I start to wonder, because Renekton with Prio and then TF later on is going to cause some real problems in terms of like just in that jungle matchup and how everyone else interacts with each other. 2v2 wise, we're not going to miss out on the bot lane here. Those guys are going to be on their island, I assume. They'll be far and away, just away from all this fighting. So, I don't know.
Sure.
We will be looking at it. Plenty of fights.
Yeah. So, given how game 1 went between these two games, between these two teams, I should say, Hive looked so in control for most of it. Demise had to force and scratch and rip the victory away from them pretty much by the end through massive plays from Sin playing literally Kai'Sa top lane. Are you expecting it to be this hard for Demise again? We've now seen 7 games out of these two teams. Demise obviously 7-0, Hive on an upswing, but still 4-3. Do you expect it to still be as difficult for Hive? Are you expecting Hive to be in control for most of this game with what they've drafted, or are Demise still able to just kind of go ham and roll it over?
Hive in control first 10 to 15 minutes, if they play to what they have and the tools they've given themselves. And then later on, when we start to go into that 1-3-1, at around 15 minutes is where I start to see Yone potentially starting to go, I'm coming online. LeBlanc has Prio a little bit earlier than that, so they have a nice kind of like layover window into each other. But we'll start to see as it goes, the games unfolds, and I want to see if there's anything going to happen at level 1 which will change any of this, given how strong TF and Udyr can be, as well as Soraka as well. And it looks like we're just going into a fairly calm opening here.
Yeah, has the usual 5 points come through here. Leon obviously is doing a little bit of a base recall there. Goes back, drops the ward, gets the sweeper, and comes in. but they just will need to calm down so far. Looking through the runes and masteries, nothing too crazy as far as I can see. We do have the lovely Dark Harvest on Karthus. Love to see that rune still coming in hot. And we've got the Hail of Blades on Vanguard as well, so perhaps a little bit more earlier burst power with no lethal tempo to scale up hard into team fights later.
I mean, there is one person that I don't like, and that is Mr. Wilhelm with his Phase Rush Udyr. Quick explanation before things start going down on jungle pathing. I don't like Phase Rush for the pure reason that by the time you get close to Karthus to actually proc it, you'll have already pretty much been dead, and you miss out on a lot of tenacity, which I think you will need later on. And I don't like it. Conqueror, I think, would have been better, but we'll see. I mean, a lot of people have been taking this anyway and going for Merc Treads. So, standard clears here. Udyr going from red to top side, and Karthus answering that by going from top to bot side. Each just playing around which side of their lanes will be strongest. No funny business.
Yeah, with Fuyu and Little Pants on Xayah and Rakania, this is meant to be the duo that is the lane-dominating duo. They're designed to be super strong together. Are we expecting Vanguard and Zerg to just have to cede space in this lane for a lot of the time?
I believe so. Xayah Rakan at level 1 is a real problem. Straka can start fighting back if she gets some good trades, some range, but that will remain to see that for now. As you see here, they get to level 2 and look for it, and Vayne's having to burn his summoners nice and early. That prowess, as we were talking about.
Yeah, that's what we expected to see, and Fuyu and Little Pants wasting no time in forcing that advantage there as we see top lane getting shoved in. I won't lose pushing Sultan back onto the tower. Though jungler's still yet to impact the map so far, the lane's playing out more or less as we expected.
I'm not too big a fan of when Renekton decided to crash here. I think he could have potentially looked to have denied more from the enemy top laner, but also assisted with... I think what he's doing is just keeping his prio up for Crab and moving down to help his jungler, but also now trying to create a slow push against himself. Which is absolutely fine. He should be... He'll be absolutely fine here with that.
Well, Kurosh now finding the aggression onto Nice Guy Dom. The nice little chain combo there to get a little bit of a lead, but of course this is TF with the Corrupting Potion and the minion dematerializers. Lane winning trades is not the aim of this character, and the push will get stronger and stronger.
As we're looking over here, Karthus just ended up going onto Crab here. Just looks like a standard Crab trade, no funny business. TF looking for see if he can stop the recall to keep him in lane here.
The passive as well. Frustrating. This is Kurosh without TP as well. With the Ignite expecting to go for kills, or at the very least early action with this Summoner action, whereas Nice Guy Dom with that TP should be able to extend a little bit of a CS lead using that utility-based Summoner and potentially impacting the map even more as we expected. Vanguard now under a bit of pressure from bot side once again. We see the Ignite having been dropped by Little Pants. Vanguard out of mana, almost out of health. It's not looking good for them.
And Demise here, they normally have like Sona Seraphine or something in the bot lane. They're actually showing us now we're quite happy playing the other way, the other side of the matchup, and playing the aggressors in the situation. And they're burning summoners, and it's starting to get even more dire as this goes further on. Laning like this for a few more minutes, and Vanguard is not going to be a happy man.
Good job by Demise Academy to expect the Udyr combo. They have stepped up once again, and now Wilhelm is here, engaged by Little Pants with the dash back, and the first blood snatched away by Fuyu on Vanguard, and Little Pants with another dash to get back to safety. Fuyu happy to take this trade as the minion wave is now coming into support, but Demise Academy turned that around well.
He had no flash, he had heal up only available, so they just immediately turn and burn, and then Rakan can just use his E to get away, and he gets 100 to 0, shortly followed by death. And well, I'm not really sure what else they were thinking or planning there, considering Vanguard is the one that is going forwards. And yeah, now they're massively to Demise, and well, we look at Renekton versus Yoan and what he's actually been able to achieve. He's two waves ahead, great, but it's not quite a kill or any pressure as of yet, and Yoan seems to be just scaling perfectly fine.
Fuyu, I think, maybe just making sure that no one's talking any trash about him not being able to play real AD carries, comes in with the Xayah, grabs the first blood in a 2 versus 3 in bot side, and Demise Academy looking good in this early game.
And the other part being here, we need to talk about LeBlanc as well. I mean, look at this. Okay, she got a good trade early on, but then TF was able to keep her in lane for so long. Now that he's using his passive, he's using HP advantage, he's got favourable trades. He'll push this and then recall and come back. If not, he's just going to stay here and clear out the vision. but he is 6. So the reason I was looking for this is if he's hit 6, that he might want to recall, grab as much power as he can, so then he can use his ultimate to then start interacting with other lanes. So he's just staying low.
Just kind of keeping it chill right now. I mean, bot side for Lil Pants and Fuyu now being pushed up, so not quite as much room to go in there, and top side is still happily pushing him. Imonu's just crashing the waves or shoving it up nice and quickly. So far, Leon and Wilhelm haven't been able to have that much impact. Wilhelm attempted the gank on bot lane, Leon just farming it up, but is still falling slightly behind the Udyr so far.
Only ever so slightly. I mean, he'd still be fine. He's getting to 6 perfectly fine. Little invade potentially being looked at here, but Renekton does have a fair distance to cover before he's going to be able to help.
Yeah, Udyr's got the ultimate there, but doesn't get that much damage off it. Udyr not really the burst character at this stage in the game with just the Ruby Crystal in inventory, and they're going to walk away. Leon still getting the majority of those Krugs.
Okay. So I criticised Renekton earlier. However, I do... I'll hold on that point just to see if we're going to get a little jungle here.
Going for round 2. Walks back through the wall of pain, but Kurosh is now coming through. Might be able to punish. There's no blast cone. Doesn't actually opt for it. Interesting restraint by Kurosh there. Nice guy Dom's in base.
Yep. And we're looking at that there, and you're saying my jungler wants to invade, but I'm also basing, so then your jungler backs out and potentially what could have been a good play. I mean, Renekton's window of dominance over Yone is... We're getting 10 minutes into it nearly now, and what we actually achieved, other than denying waves. Yeah, denying waves is great, but at a certain point we need to be doing more. How are we doing that? How are we getting our jungle invades off? How are we actually progressing the game? And nothing so far.
Yep, still waiting for Hive to strike that first kill down, as so far they do have decent CS in mid and top lane, maybe not as much of an advantage as we'd expected, and they're keeping even in bot lane as well, keeping the wave in a nice position there, forcing Little Pants and Fuyu to just go back, buy some gold, and now they're actually starting the dragon off Wilhelm.
Yep. He's using the advantage. I believe they either got some information knowing the recall is in, or they're just using a little bit of game knowledge here. They've got priority from mid, they're holding from bot lane, picks this up for free. Cardus in the meantime, just going to pick up his camps, Zyra Khan with a free recall. So now I want to see what's going to happen for Herald. Are we going to see Zyra Khan come back out and then start moving towards Herald after pushing this wave? Because now Hive need to take their recalls after this. So there's going to be a moment where they're off the map, which Demise could take advantage.
So looking at what we've seen right here, it's a remarkably quiet early game so far, apart from that little sneak kill in the bot side. But we've got LeBlanc not getting as much advantage as he wants to get in mid, with Renekton not doing as much as we wanted in top lane. Who does this favour? Who's coming out better from this passive early?
From passive early, I'm going to favour Demise to go into 1-3-1. However, Hive aren't slouches, right? The scaling advantage is dependent on the team compositions. If they get a scaling advantage but Hive are able to find team fights, they are likely to potentially win with the amount of single target CC they have. Versus Demise, if they're able to set up 1-3-1 passively, it's in their favour. So it really could go either way, but I'm favouring Demise. So
Here now. Pretty safe option in the league so far, let's be honest. I favour the 7-0 team. That's what I favour. I just look at the record.
It's just the numbers, man. You can't argue with the numbers.
They never lie. They've never been known to lie, it's true. So bot lane, top lane I should say, still getting shoved in, and Leon now just having a check to see if the Herald is still live, but Wilhelm in base right now. Grabs the armor boots as well, so not going to have as much MR potentially if Kurosh and Leon find a fight, but I mean when you're looking into Fuyu and Sultan, you see a lot of auto attack damage coming through there.
I think this is one of the maybe things that I'm looking at from Demise, where I'm seeing a small mistake that they couldn't have taken advantage of. They had a tempo lead from first base, which they could have used to then move from bot lane to mid lane to get prio, and then look for this Herald, and then start breaking out and making their own leads. It was there, it would have been available to them, and I don't think it would have costed them too much to do so. And now instead, Udyr is going to walk over, and he was able to solo a Drake, pick up his camps, and then solo a Herald as well, and there was no repercussion for it. I mean, yeah. It's entirely free for them.
You know the joke with Karthus jungle is that you just farm and press R, right? But like, is that literally what Leon should have been doing, or do you want to see Leon getting stuck into trying to fight and contest something maybe?
See, I think in these instances, it was contestable. Despite matchups and things, if you actually just look at the game state of what is happening, of who can move and how many numbers you'll have in an area, that was open to them. And they dropped the ball here a little bit. However, Leon, knowing that that's going to go down now, has farmed all the rest of his camps and has taken a massive camp advantage. Normally what you'll see here is if a Drake or a Herald goes down, it's roughly about 2 camps, which immediately look at the CS. Karthus is doing that, but it's what he's going to do after. He is and has passed level 6 now. We haven't seen it come out as of yet, so I'm still waiting to see this combo, but lots of fighting here in top.
Yeah, now Sultan and I Won't Lose deciding that they're going to kick the action off themselves as no one else is going to do it. But now we have seen I Won't Lose now has a relatively significant CS lead right now on this top side. 24 and is crashing these waves. He's got one plate for themselves. Leon is pathing up, but so is Wilhelm and Nice Guy Dom. So I think they feel a bit of a counter gank on the horizon.
Believe so, and as we're seeing now, TF walking into the LeBlanc blind, but he's going to get followed up by Rakan in a second.
Yeah, that is not a lot of damage so far, but Little Pants flashes over, and there's the burst with the Requiem to finish off. Little Pants, unfortunately, takes that one away, and the top side, Hive answering back with a kill onto Sultan. Wilhelm and I Won't Lose taking that one down, so suddenly now, people feel like they've got the tools to make something happen.
And it was a really nice play there. So we get Little Pants come off first base, immediately into mid lane to start influencing the matchup. And alternatively, then you also have TF that has tried to walk to top lane by fogging, but then has had to come back for the wave that is being pushed in. And then they catch TF, but in return, they also take Yone with them on the other side. And overall, it's a 1-for-1. And Renekton's probably the happier one out of these trades because TF passive probably means he's actually fairly still 1 kill or an assist that actually went to his laner, he can get away with due to the passive.
Yep, extra gold working out well there, and surprisingly in bot lane, Vanguard has actually got a significant CS lead as well, so despite the control they had there, I think just maybe some nice wave management we saw from them early on, holding a nice freeze, does get Vanguard enough CS to pretty much almost balance out that gold difference, I imagine.
So that early kill early on, completely forgotten now.
Yeah.
Like, you've left Vayne to free farm, and you've also left her with the experience. There's no real difference. They're both level 7 now, and Fuyu has no summoners after the issues that he had earlier. So, props to Hive here. Like, their bot lane seems to just be... They had a crisis early, and now they've just gone Band-Aid, and it's fine. And now we see here Renekton's shifting down from mid or top to mid, using his priority, and then coming in here and trying to secure the Drake for themselves.
Oh, nice guy. I'm actually going to bot lane with the Destiny port, and no summoners on Fuyu means they have to give that ground away. Herald dropping mid, and they've taken control of the Dragon River as well. Hive, with the numbers advantage and the inside track here, going to easily pick up this objective, but let's see if Demise... They don't want to contest them on the way out, they just have to give it up.
So, really nice from Hive's top laner here, and this is what I was looking to see what Xayah and Rakan could have done earlier on in the game by using that. Renekton's just done a prior, like an example that I really wanted to see, and this is something that Hive have been working on for a little while now, and have actually changed as the weeks have gone on, and they've improved. So now they're putting themselves in a position where Drake's Soul is going to come in that 20 to 25 minute window, and I don't think Demise, if they don't get something now, there's a very real risk that they're going to get into a Drake Soul game, and it's either going to be Mountain or Ocean, and that causes real problems. This mid lane here goes down. Small lead building for Hive.
Yeah, it is in fact the Mountain Soul coming through here, so they're going to have extra defenses. Neither team has that, is going to be stacking that much armor and MR, apart from Wilhelm pretty much in that jungle. Is going to become very, very tanky, which is going to help them weather the storm with the damage coming through from Demise later on. So far, this game has followed a similar track to the last time these teams matched up. Hive, as you said you expected, is in control right now, and is just happily building up his objectives. Got a nice small CS lead for themselves, a nice gold lead, first tower down. They're looking very comfortable, and we've looped right back around to the start of this season.
And can't say I'm happy for this, right? I wanted a competitive game, and it certainly looks like we're going to get it. My thing I'm looking at now is Yone going to hit that 2-item spike before these Drake Souls come in? Like, there's 3 minutes now, and then extra time after that, but is he going to get to 2 items by that point? Is he going to come online? Maybe not. That's a problem. Demise have to find a solution for this, and then Hive can quite happily just ride this now. Like, they've only got another 3 minutes until the next Drake. Just keep farming with Vayne. Love that. Like, Udyr, quite happy to farm as well. TF, yeah, you can get away with it, but his ultimate is always pressure there, and he can play through the Renekton. So in this downtime, Hive have got some options now to keep playing through Renekton. What did Demise have? Because Xayah and Rakan, they can't force onto this anymore.
Yep, they've let this lead slip away from them. There's no mythics even on bot side as well. It's not even that much damage coming out of here. LeBlanc still to get theirs off. We do at least have 3 on the side of Hive with that top side combination, getting those nice little early power spikes. And Leon as well. We've seen one Requiem come down that got stolen away by Little Pants, so a 0, I guess you could call it a perfect KDA right now from Leon on the Karthus, but waiting to see the impact coming through from this jungle pick.
And the real point is, you said that there was one Requiem in a 16-minute game. Okay, and he's got Dark Harvest.
Yeah.
So, in reality here, what was the point of taking Dark Harvest if your team aren't going to trade aggressively to then enable you to use your ultimate?
Oh, here we go. A bit of an aggressive move now from Nice Guy Dominic. Caught up by Little Pants with that quickening, but Night Won't Lose is quickly onto the backside, and the TP from Yone is quite far away. Fuyu gets aggressed on and taken down by Renekton. Yone on the side is going to find a kill onto Zerg, but dragged right back to his body with the Unbound Soul into 4 members. Nice Guy Dom cleans that one up, so it's a 2-for-1 overall for Hive now.
2-for-1, Yone TP's in, Renekton answers, and then we end up seeing 2-for-1. LeBlanc is in, like, Narnia, just nowhere close. So it's always going to be in favour of Hive, and Hive are going for another redive.
Yeah, Wilhelm ready with this one, and the stun comes through from Vayne God and Don. There's the kill onto Vayne. Wilhelm still behind the tower. Here comes the Requiem. A couple low health bars. I don't know if it's enough at rank 1, though. Dark Harvest stacks at least, but Hive pushing the pressure again.
I'm fairly certain Vayne is on about, like, 10 HP right now. Like, prior to this.
I
look at that HP. Look how close that is. Good lord. Ultimately, though, Hive, big advantage here. They just took a 1k to 2k gold lead. A lot of the resources from Demise are now down. We likely should have seen an answer come out from LeBlanc with what she was going to set up in the next 30 seconds. And as we look here, they're going into their 1-3-1 setup now. Yone probably isn't going to like this too early because Renekton can just answer. And then the real thing is, how much is LeBlanc going to get done in this side lane now? 1 minute to Drake to go. Let's see what happens.
Pretty small 0-0-1 scoreline there. Got the CS lead back in their favour and has the Mythic Luden's Tempest now on deck, but a 1-stack Darkseal isn't doing too much, and you know the Medjay's is a long way away if that's the route Kurosh wants to go. Having been denied the Rise and the TF, seems to be struggling to have as much of an impact on the map as we're used to from this player.
And as we see here, now the top laners, they're shifting down, they're both trying to answer each other. Mid-priority game by Hive, but answered by Demise. And now we're starting to see as well, they're going through bot lane here, as they actually lost mid-priority first. So they're trying to make sure LeBlanc can't move for free. They push in with their bot lane. I think Udyr should be moving now with his bot lane to cover them. They're a little bit slow and behind on the play. They're just looking to get their vision control over the Drake for now.
Demise stepping forward, trying to take a look into this river if possible. Has been the engage that he needs to be so far, has been the trigger for all the plays, but now Vanguard stepping up to push Kurosh and Leon back. Destiny has dropped to get them vision, but Nice Guy Dom can't quite find a route in so far. He's going to port in now just into the mid lane, maybe just a little bit of a scare tactic as Demise Academy fall back into the jungle, and now the Dragon's been started by Hive.
Ultimate used there by TF just to see if we can get vision of anyone segregated from the play, but Renekton's going in here, goes Dominus, goes big.
Straight in with the Dominus, gets the kill for Leon, now goes down to Wilhelm, but in comes Sultan with a nice Fate sealed on the backside, drops Zerg very low, but falls to Nice Guy Dom. Kurosh desperately trying to get something back, and it's now a 3-on-3 with the bot lane and mid lane for Demise Academy taking a lot of damage. Vanguard is still feeling so powerful. Flash card from Dom, gets through in the shield, will not keep Fuyu alive. Little Pants the next to fall as Renekton dives over the wall. Blast codes back over to lock down Kurosh. There goes the passive. Can Demise escape with at least one life?
Vayne is here, Vayne's here.
But Vanguard with the stun round the corner, and there's the ace. Hive roll over Demise Academy in that fight.
Really well played there. So we started to see the benefit of having all this single target CC in the fights, which is going in favour of Hive. When they're grouped up, they're able to just target one person at a time. Demise's solo laners are trying to get backline access and go for that backline. They can't find Vayne. She's in her ultimate and she's using Q and Shadowed Invisible. They've got TF there that's throwing CC out. They've got Renekton diving and making a problem on your backline. Demise Academy, you've got two aspects here. Solo laners trying to go forwards, and then their carries going backwards, screaming for help and peel, and it creates real problems. And Hive just take full advantage of that. And then they pick up even more off the play. LeBlanc is now not going to be situated. Drake for free, and now we've really got a problem once that Drake Soul starts coming in of what's going to happen. Massively at Demise need to find an answer. Like, how is this LeBlanc now going to create a pressure or something on the side lane to come back into this game?
It's very, very tough for Demise right now. If Hive can get that Mountain Soul Shield, the burst from Leon, from Kurosh, from Sultan, it's just not going to matter as much, and it's so much harder for them to get something done. We can see 2 items already completed now for Nice Guy Dom, with the Lich Bane there as well, so he is scaling up nicely, put into this active role. As I said before, I wanted to see how he would do in this new position, and does seem to be, after a quiet laning phase, just winning it slowly, has now stepped up and is making these plays, flashing for the gold cards, getting things done in the team fights.
And don't get me wrong, Demise still have conditions to win this game. Demise can still have some options to come back. It's just difficult to get into place because Yoan isn't online yet. He's still struggling. He's almost there. He's got a little bit more to go. And on the other hand, you've got LeBlanc here where you're looking like, okay, can you create pressure on TF? No, because we're just sending Renekton to answer here. So no kill pressure there. And then you're trying to find solutions to how can we force something that's going to be mid lane. Here's the problem though.
Yeah, here comes Destiny, and I Won't Lose once again is ready on the play. Demise Academy though do seem to have given themselves plenty of space to back away, so that play will not come to much, but it's just the Destiny cooldown used in the grand scheme of things, not the biggest loss for Hive.
And as you see here, Demise, they're walking into mid lane to try and force. However, they're not being aggressive enough, and the reason for that is because they notice that Renekton is already moving. They notice that the bot lane on top is already moving back to mid lane. So even if they went aggressive, it would be answered fairly quickly by Hive. And I think the real thing we're looking for now is, okay, that play doesn't work. Okay, should we bring out shadowing? Should we see Karthus? Should we see the support actually just let LeBlanc push all the way out and shadow on her? And allow her to actually take a 1v1, or technically a 1v3 that will come out of the shadows. But
exactly.
We'll start to see here, Hive are in a nice spot. They'll probably end up just going for mid-prio and just wanting to basically coast on this game until next Drake appears. And it's on Demise to say, what can you do? How are you going to change this?
I like that we have the 1-3-1 coming out there briefly from Demise, but both of their 1-3-1 players are pushed back into their inner towers. It's a bit of a twisted 1-3-1 scenario where you're just trying to pick up as much safe farm as possible on what is supposed to be the lane dominating characters for Demise.
As we get into this side, I mean, you're just starting to see the power of that Renekton and TF now. TF able to answer out, even if LeBlanc gets priority, or Yoan gets priority on him, he's just got ultimate to follow them immediately. And on the other side, you've got Renekton, who just says, you're not getting prio, I'll beat you up.
No one is stepping time won't lose.
Pretty much. If it was a boxing match specifically between Renekton and the other solo laners, I think we would have just FF'd it by now.
We would have gone next, I think. But so far, if we take stock of what's going on here, we now have 1.5 minutes towards the next dragon. This has been the pivotal objective, as it so often is in these games, and now Hive with Soul Point on deck have so much control going into it. They're already setting up the vision in the jungle, looking to potentially find a pick, with both bot laners of Demise actually that top side. So I Won't Lose absorbing the pressure of the whole bot side.
And this is really nice, by the way. You're seeing Hive here, they get mid-prio, they move into the vision, and then they're playing on between these two lanes and just seeing what they'll catch.
Dives straight forward and eats a gold card, forced to Fate Sealed to safety, loses half his HP. That's a cooldown that is going to be conspicuously missing in a minute's time.
And we're likely to see Renekton here. He's going to push out his top lane and then start moving down to mid lane. Demise, or Hive even, sorry. If they're going to find a reset, it needs to be now. But I think they're just going to sit inside this control and wait to see if Demise try to face check them.
Here they come now, stepping forward carefully, gradually through that river. Little Pants now clearing out the vision. Wilhelm on the side waiting. Leon and Fuyu clearing out that bottom side. Everyone is now coming through. Sultan does have the TP, is resetting now. We'll see if he has a decent item buy. It's going to be a BF sword, so a nice little chunk of AD coming through there now. Demise Academy, they've reached the vision plant and they've got vision, so they can step up into the river. But the 5v5s, even with good vision, have not been going their way.
I'm kind of surprised that we've seen Demise been able to walk all the way up into these kind of choke points, and that the engage or flank hasn't come out, but most of their wards got cleared. So
and now I Won't Lose is maybe looking to find a flank for you. We'll see them there. In comes the Destiny. Zerg dropped quite low by Kurosh, and Demise Academy just trying to group back up for safety. Vayne got dashing forward. I Won't Lose pops the Dominus. Little Pants sees it, goes for the quickening, but gets stunned against the wall by the Condemned. Sultan is in, but taking so much damage and just falls to Vayne God. Hive have got the kill they need. Fuyu, Blade Callers through the team, but to little effect. And Hive now, that's all they needed.
Well played by Hive. But now they can just back up, they can go back into the choke, and now they wait. But it's getting a little bit dicey now that the Karthus ult Requiem comes in.
Dom finds a gold cover. Immortals flashes forward onto Kurosh, pops them very low, and there's the kill tucked up by Wilhelm. Little Pants falls, and the cards from Nice Guy Dom are slicing through Demise. He will be counter-killed by Leon, but the man advantage still in Hive's favor. Demise fighting back, but still falling down.
Really nice usage there of just whatever CC they had would land onto one target. Hive would then immediately try to get rid of that target with dropping them to 0 on the HP bars, and then just immediately they realize, okay, let's back up again, and they're dancing in and out of these fights around the CC that they had. And ultimately, they walk away with Drake Soul, they walk away with additional kills, they walk away with having basically death timers in a real issue for Demise, because they then can't contest the next objective, and now we potentially see a Baron going over to Hive.
Sultan dives straight into the pit with that soul unbound just to see what's going on there, gets dashed back to the body, but it looks like Demise Academy don't feel comfortable really contesting this. Fuyu steps up tentatively, but I won't lose, ready to dash over, just pops the blast cone for an extra bit of safety, and Leon is so far away. Surely it's going to be picked up by Hive before they can say anything about it, and there's the Baron taken off the back of another win.
So, you remember in the draft where we mentioned about this Yone being like throwing down the gauntlet?
Yeah.
Well, I think I will and truly that this got answered by Hive, and Hive just said, no, you can't do that.
Yeah.
And then just left it with that.
Exactly. You can't just throw it down blind to I won't lose. Not at this point, right? We've established the dominance in this lane. 4-0 and 4 for I won't lose, still with the CS advantage. 2.5 items ready. He's always finding the flanks in team fights. It's been a great game for him.
Agreed. And now, with Hive with Baron, I mean, they've been doing it prior to this with their Drake setups, where they've been playing on 2 lanes. They've been doing it fairly well. Now I should hope to see that we see it again. Renekton's probably going to come over to the bottom lane, then move up to mid, or they just go into a 1-3-1. And they actually just do what Demise would love to do, as they don't really have a solid engage other than Rakan. So, Hive, you've got so many options here that you can do. Let's see what they choose.
Yeah, in the previous game, of course, it was Hive who got kind of pushed back by Demise. They had the TF, they were making the crazy engage plays, and Sin was popping off on the Kai'Sa top lane. Vanguard getting caught out a little bit. Vayne spotting, as it was said by Doctor when he was viewing that game. Now he's on the Vayne, and he has actually been playing this very well past that misstep early on. Never out of position, and the rest of Hive are always clumped up, team fighting extremely well. Top lane tower's going to fall. Wilhelm actually going straight behind the next tower, just to push Sultan back as the Destiny is used for a bit of vision, but now Baron minions on the inhibitor tower.
And Demise have a real problem. I mean, you're just seeing waves come in from every single angle. You see Renekton and TF now get bottom side. Demise are going to try and force onto top side here to see if they can actually achieve something, but I believe Hive are going to walk out too quickly, and Rakan just simply cannot engage without flash W ult.
Yep, slowed by the Q from Zerg, and that's the play over on the bot side. The inhibitor goes completely down for it. It looks like Wilhelm, Vanguard, and Zerg are still holding the Demise Academy. Now they're the ones pushing them back into the base. It is looking absolutely dire for Demise.
You're seeing a 1-3-1 comp that lost Baron, and this is the result. 1-3-1 comps traditionally do not have great engage. They don't have those kind of options to teamfight with, and then you can just take full advantage. If they ever lose Baron in a situation like this, you're allowed to just basically do this for free, and there's no answer.
It's looking so controlled from Hive now, as here we see Demise trying to make this last desperation play, but I won't lose, shredding the side of Demise in a 1 versus 5. Dom throwing the cards out in the back, and the rest of Hive are coalescing, swarming over the Nexus towers of Demise Academy, and looks like they're about to hand our level 1 team their first loss of the season. We have looped right back round to the start, and Hive doing what they wanted to do the first time around. They'll be the first to knock down Demise Academy, and they are going to go to 5-3.
Demise finally lose their first game of the split, and also, can we please get a report on Soraka for not healing in there at the end and ruining the KDA? Thank you very much. Guys. I'm very sorry, Vanguard, that you had to deal with that. But at the end of the day, Hive had options, they punished, they utilized them, and then we saw that issue in the draft when Yo couldn't get to 2 items. They couldn't scale through that. LeBlanc didn't get anything really done early on, actually went even in that matchup, and then Hive just looked at it and went, okay, we'll team fight now, and we win. And Demise, you're really looking over and going, okay, do we need to shake things up now? Do we need to change a few things? Is this really going to keep working if people actually started to figure it out now of what we can do?
Yeah, like when you're not gonna get the free draft every time, you're not gonna get Rise. You get actually punished for the Yone and topside, especially blind on your B1 or your R1 pick. I think it was your R2 pick. It seems like kind of cocky drafting, kind of cocky play from Demise Academy when the 7-0 record was there. Hive now stepping up, knocking them down, and have reached the point, I think, of being the true contender we wanted them to be from the very beginning.
Agreed, and I think it was deserved though, like in the sense that they were allowed to be cocky. You're 7-0 for you're allowed that, and we'll give you that leeway. Now, what do you take away from this loss? Because at the end of the day, a loss at this moment in the season might be that difference between saying, okay, guys, we really need to like ship up and get better and improve again because it's not working anymore, like 100%. What do we now need to change? What do we improve? And really reflect on it and come back next week and then continue to demolish everybody. Like, it's not the end of the world. But it is a wake-up call to say we can be beaten. This is a competitive league. Like, you're not just going to roll it over. So, really happy for Hive. Like, I'm so happy to see this team improve. And actually, going back to those week 1 predictions of saying we think this might be one of the strongest teams in the league, is that going to come true? Are we going to actually see that final article? And that is what I want to see.
Yeah. S-tier team, by the way, perhaps getting up that tier list right back to where we wanted them to be. So, can you name a player of the game for me? Quick reclamation from the Hive side.
I'm either going to have to go with... I'm going to go with Renekton in this whole plane. Yeah. Which, if I recall correctly, he's Irish. And I'm struggling for his name right now. I'm blanking.
Rengus.
But Rengus. That's what I was thinking. Yeah. I was like, I had it. I could visualize it in his face, but I couldn't picture his name. But yeah, go into Rengus.
Describe his face like a police lineup interview, and then we'll get it. Yeah. But okay, so that's Rengus, locked in the player of the game. Got the counter pick, ran with it, pushed the lead. Absolutely great performance on him, stepping up in the top side. And Hive taking that win over Demise Academy to kick the second round robin off. Looks like we're not going to have the same story going around for these next few weeks. So stick around, because after this short break, we've got Mythos versus Munster Rugby. Don't go anywhere. And we are back here with the second game of the day, second round robin, not disappointing so far with already Hive upsetting Demise Academy. And now we're going from that top of the table right down to the bottom. We've got Mythos and Munster fighting to try and get into that playoffs position.
And I mean, we're going to go from one end of the spectrum to another, but I really hope it's just as competitive. Like, these two teams should be on equal footing. We're seeing a little bit of shake-up on some of the who that's brought in, and also on the other side, you're also getting Mythos now that are looking over and saying we've got a new top lane, who is potentially a new carry. Are we going to see him be able to pop off? Are we going to see him maybe look to create advantages for us? And then Munster, I mean, the new mid laner too as well. So, I mean, let's see what we get.
Yeah, talk to us a little bit about Polyakov in the mid lane reclamation, because I know you have a lot of praise to sing for this guy.
Okay, so this guy was someone formerly, a few years back anyway, that was pushing as a very good mid laner outside of the LEC. He was on G2 Arctic, he's been playing with a number of decent teams, he's on LDLC, he was in EU Challenger Series. So if you're really looking at the list or the caliber of names that he is listed with, you're starting to look and go, okay, this guy should be or could become a carry, could become someone that we play around. Bear in mind, it was a few years ago. I don't know what he's been in recent years. I know he took a break, and that was for whatever reason. I think it was personal issues, so I don't want to alleviate, but he could be extremely good with the experience he has, and if that rubs off on everyone else and he's able to be a leader and teach, then you've really got to say that is a valuable pickup and could turn into something very profitable and turning into wins.
Yeah, absolutely. Having a bit more of a veteran presence on a new rebuilt team like Munster that does have, coming back into this fresh season, still relatively new to the esports game in general, and getting a nice, as you say, experienced potential leader on the team there, and someone who can just be another carry, because previously Davidoff was struggling quite a lot in the mid lane, and Kevman and Goose had a fair amount of slack to pick up. Now with another threat coming in here, it could balance out the load a little bit and let everyone shine a bit more.
Absolutely. And I know we've typically said that Keverman is that big carry that it can be relied upon to carry games in the UKEL. He's done it in the past, he can do it now, and he can keep doing it again. It's just whether or not are his teammates going to be able to back him up. They were struggling in the past. Let's see if that changes, see if that's been fixed, and see if they've really been able to have a look at some of these things week by week of what they should have been addressing. On the other side, we have Mythos. That team that seems to have got the first couple of minutes down with swaps playing through Dunlosey, but then once we hit that mid game is when we start to see them struggle a little bit of just okay, how long should we be spending here? What should we be looking for? And trying to find out and get everybody on that same page as we get into draft here.
Was a team that has traditionally been in the 6th and 7th spot, but the first round robin, I think we were pretty excited for this team and how they were going to perform based on the gameplay they were seeing, especially their early first few games, but they have since dropped down once again to this 2 and 5 position. Now it's time for them to take what they've learned and see if they can improve this record. So, first ban is the Seraphine, pretty common one in the league so far.
I still am adamant I don't like it on blue side. I'd much prefer it on red side, but it is what it is. If you don't play it and you don't preference it and you've seen the enemy team does, just seems better to get rid of it on blue. In a perfect world, both teams would play it, but yeah, we're not there. So we see a Bard ban come out. Massive Jelly, I know, is a connoisseur of Bard, so fair play. I think it's just going for comfort. We have a little bit more discussion here and getting Camille. Camille's a very good blue side ban. It opens up the avenue for Camille Galio on red side. It's fairly easy to go into, so it makes sense to get rid of if you're expecting to not play through that.
Sure. So traditionally, we've seen Mythos be a very top-sided team, and Dunlosey has been the spearhead of that with very aggressive picks that want to take control early, with a bit of farming and ganking as well. We've seen him go on the Graves and gank at level 2. We've seen him play the Hecarim, even the Vi, though it didn't work out that particularly well. So how do you think Munster Rugby can deal with this? They know how Dunlosey's going to play the game, but what are they going to do to counter it?
Well, there is the really optimal thing of taking Udyr first pick, which pretty much just runs over everything on this patch. So, I mean, there's one answer. The alternative is, if you know that the enemy team plays mostly through their jungle, you can hold that jungle pick till later on and maybe look to try and counter it. Or you just throw bans at them early on and say, we'll just take the strongest jungler possible.
Yeah, there is the Udyr ban, so Goose not going to be able to lock that one in straight away. Though Goose, it must be said, has been, as we mentioned before, a bit of a strong secondary carry for Munster, especially in their win. They looked very integral in taking that one. So there are still plenty of strong, really powerful jungles left open right now. The Lilia's open, Talia's open, even if you want to go for something else like a Pantheon for ganking. But it's going to be the Xayah actually first picked.
Yep. See, Xayah is basically that slot and change of Kai'Sa. We saw that first picked quite a lot in other regions. And in a way, it's basically saying, okay, AD carry is at that point where it's not too impactful. The support matchup is more so the thing that influences the lane. And then on the opposite side, we get a Graves locked in. I'm not too big a fan of that, considering we haven't even seen the jungle matchups.
It's an interesting one so far. Potentially a lot of power picks going by the wayside so far, and they're going to lock in the Maokai as well, which Arkarath has touched a fair few times. So once again, I think a bit of a comfort pick down there. But with the recent changes that Maokai's gone through, do you think that this is a particularly punishable pick now if you take it blind?
I mean, they're taking it blind, but I'm fully expecting a Senna to come on third pick here.
Sure.
I am none the wiser. I don't know why they would do this, but personally, if you're going to go for the Senna Maokai route, which is being seen quite a lot nowadays, that's the way it gets through, is that you probably want to take that first and just run with it. And now we just see Xayah Thresh locked in, which I'm assuming they were trying to use this as a Maokai flex, that they'll take it anywhere. Thresh is considered quite an okay matchup into Maokai. He's able to achieve quite a lot with hooks and all in. Just see what they go for as their third pick, which I assume would be jungle. So we might see a Lilia, we might see a Nidalee or a Talia.
Yeah.
If you're going for AP options specifically.
Yeah. I think Goose has pulled out a couple of more interesting picks so far, but it's going to be the Ornn locked in for Synapse. So just kind of a safe. I'm just going to have this going to scale. It's going to be fine pick.
See, if we see this now, where they take Senna Maokai bot lane and then they take top. Okay, I guess we're just throwing it all out the window and bringing something spicy to the table. Let's see what we get, because if this is a Karma in mid lane, what that means is then they're going to do the buff up onto Graves, and Graves becomes the main carry in this composition. And then you just have Maokai like throwing CC at people, and away you go. And on the opposite side, you've got a clear from Munster Rugby of Xayah Thresh, we're playing for bot lane, Ornn locked in top, and then you're just like standard, no funny business. And as you see, Lilia gone. I'd fully expect Talia to go as well. AP jungle option starts to get pulled away from that.
Yeah, start pinching that pool for Goose there. And if you go to the bot lane in the Karma, I guess it could. We have seen it flex to the bot lane a couple times, and Karma Maokai sounds like a really annoying lane to play against. But I mean, Manrobo is also a bit more of a supportive utility style mid laner with your Gallios, with your Orianas, so could probably slot into that Karma role very easily. And supporting Don Lossie as your main carry doesn't sound like the worst idea to me. It's been a good play for them.
Now, the real question I have here, and we're going off topic, but can you imagine if you're in Munster's position now, and you're having to draft against this, and you just see Maokai Karma locked in, and they can go to like 3 different lanes each?
Yeah.
Or go all different places, and the guy trying to sit there, the poor coach that's just sat here going, I think we just get rid of like strong things into Ornn, I guess.
Yeah.
I'm not too sure. I don't know.
Yeah.
So I'm really hoping that Mythos in the next 2 picks really solidify the advantage they've got from basically having these kind of picks of the flexibility.
Sure.
Let's see what they go with here.
Another top lane band away. Shida playing that Wukong before, and they did try to play some strong top side. It didn't go too well for them in that game, but it was, I believe, against Demise Academy, so it will give them a bit of leeway for losing the lane there against the top team in the league, and we'll see what Mythos want to throw up in there. Currently hovering the Aatrox for Shida, which will be a new one for Mythos so far this season.
Which then inadvertently does remove the Maokai flex. We know or assume that it's going to bot lane, and that AD carry would be on 5th, or they run with something crazy where it's like Karma, Maokai bot lane, and they just play wave clear. I'm not too big a fan on the Olaf pan, by the way, on 11.3, but it is what it is. So
yeah, Talia's still open for Goose. See if he wants to take that one, and the Nidalee as well, you mentioned, to be a matching carry there. Currently just hovering ADCs, but it's gonna be the J4.
So J4 will lose out on farm, but will just become basically an engage bot. You're looking over at Munster and saying, what is the easiest composition that we can play front to back? And we just go, Ornn Jarvan, please engage onto this target, and we will kill them. So you're just expecting an AP carry to come out here that he'll be able to follow up on.
Oh, the Corki.
So, scaling advantage, and just indefinitely, like Ornn is giving out items, Corki's scaling up. Not my favourite picks in the world, but it works together. right? That's what we're looking for here.
Yeah, so Polyakov pulling out the Corki, the first for us here at the UKL so far, but it is sliding back into favour recently. Not in the Azir matchup today, but still feeling comfortable with it. Polyakov, plenty of experience on the champion, as you say, can be definitely a secondary carry. That's what we want to see out of Polyakov. We want to see him being another carry for Munster Rugby, and he's got the pick to do it. It's not going to smash the lane, I imagine, but scaling up going to be very, very strong. And we do actually have the Karma Maokai bot lane on the other side.
Yeah. I knew, like, as I was watching the draft come through and I saw that Orianna hovered, I've just taken a moment to, like, catch myself and take a second to really think about this. So my real objection to this is it can work. They can wave clear. They can throw, like, they basically just don't play the game, like, in the sense of standard. They're going to do PvE and just go, we push waves and don't interact with you, and then play for our team. And they're going to shield up this Graves and Aatrox and basically try and become unkillable. My issue with that is when more Grievous Wound starts coming out. My issue also is what happens when, or if, Graves ever does fall behind, or Aatrox falls behind. Because then you've got a real problem. And it can work, don't get me wrong. It's just quirky. It's not like standard by any means. So let's see how they interact with it. Have they practiced it? Is it going to be something cool? And are we going to go... I'm expecting to see Graves basically outpath this in jungle from the beginning, first couple minutes, and Jarvan fall behind. But... that's kind of the windows they create for themselves just naturally. So.
Yeah. Both teams playing almost exactly to type as we expected. We do have the reversed strategy of Munster on the bot side pushing through and Mythos on the top side pushing through. We'll just see who gets the better advantage and who can use that more effectively as the game goes forward. Just while we're sitting in the spectator delay, mate, you've got another stat to throw at you, so prepare yourself. Right, so Mythos, we said they're a top-sided team. They have the highest heralds taken of all teams, but they have the lowest first drakes taken of all team. So do you think that this is a good thing for them? They need to keep doing this, or do you want to see them play for the drakes a little bit more? Because I mean, if you're losing out so hard on this bot side consistently and you're still drafting for that strategy, is this going to get punished for the season? Do you want to see them branch out, or just keep playing to what their strength is?
If that's your strength and it works for you in playing towards top side, by all means do it. Go ahead. But at the same time, then if you're only waiting for that herald, there's the first 5 to 6 minutes of the game, which you're not really using for any advantages. You're just giving that away, and you're giving it to the other team. If other teams notice that and just go, we'll play for Drake Soul, and so you can have herald. Or even if they get Drake Soul and they have, for example, other champions in the game that will contest it, and they put themselves in that position, then they have a problem. But if they're going to draft like this in the majority of their games, then yeah, they're definitely giving up first Drake. Like, it's just not going to happen. They might get prio from like most of their lanes, given just how the matchups play out. Bot lane is going to be the one that's like hardest contestable. I think Aatrox gets it for free, Orianna gets it for free, based on the matchups they're playing. But I could be wrong. But that's what I assume will happen. And then we'll end up seeing Graves taking top crab, Jarvan taking bottom crab, and there will be no fighting.
It will be all very peaceful in this early stage that we can expect. So, looking at the J4 specifically, we've seen this come into popularity, or not popularity, that's too strong of a word, but we've seen it come back into play a little bit recently. Shady has played it once so far, it was a bit of a rough one, I'll be honest. So why is it, do you think, that J4 has come back in specifically? We just saw Wilhelm play the Sejuani once, but that's just a Wilhelm pick. So now that farming junglers are slightly being kind of joined by ganking junglers once again, what does J4 have that makes him the go-to?
Simplicity. In like the easiest way of saying it, it's simplicity. Like, this champion exists to go, here is a load of immobile carries that we can get onto. So you're looking at the Karma, you're looking at that Maokai, you're looking at Orianna. If they're ever mispositioned, have a Jarvan EQ ultimate from 2 screens away and go, we're engaging now. It's really straightforward and easy play. If you're at the bottom of the table and you want to pick up a win, you don't want to be playing these extravagant compositions that don't have easy, clear indicators of when we're fighting. Just keep it simple, keep it easy, pick up a few wins, build that synergy between each other over a few weeks, and go from there. So that's what I really think it shines on. The negatives of that, though, is that he is going to get outfarmed. He's going to get outpaced, and if he doesn't succeed in getting something early done in terms of ganking, in terms of helping his lanes, then I could start to see a problem that is going to occur. Because you'll end up looking down at that scoreboard and going, why is this guy 30 CS behind? Why is he 40 CS behind? Why is he now 50 CS behind? And it just keeps getting worse. So we'll see.
So hopefully, I guess coming from a positive position here, it's just the freedom they now have to play with a more varied jungle pool with Polyakov in this mid lane, now that they have another carry to play with, and let's see if he can get some work done, because obviously we've had one game so far, wasn't able to pick up the win. I believe Lucendi still took that one back on Thursday, so Munster still with a way to go, but change does not happen overnight. We do have a whole second round robin to get through. That's the beauty of this UKL spring season. We've got plenty more games to go, plenty more chances for these teams to fight for those higher spots.
And I'm looking forward to this game because although I really dislike it, it makes it really interesting because it's new, right?
Yeah.
We haven't entirely seen these compositions before, so it's going to be a learning experience of going in and seeing what does this actually do. Is it like the Senna Maokai where it's just there to be chilling? Is it going to get prio and then try to move? Are we going to see contests from Graves knowing he has early prio in lanes? Like, what are we actually going to see out of this Mythos early game?
Sure. I'm looking at Agent Tower and Arkarath, and they've gone for Aftershock on the Maokai and Guardian on the Karma. Is this the usual way to do it? I thought it was meant to be Guardian on the Maokai and then Poke on the Karma.
Normally you take more Poke options on Karma to benefit on the fact that she does have some good laning early on, I would assume. And then you would still take Aftershock on Maokai, just to be like that tank, because otherwise without it, he will really struggle and just get beaten up if he ever goes in. Can't say I'm too big a fan of Guardian on Karma, but it is what it is. He can't change it now, and we'll see how it plays out.
We've gone for the Ignite on the Maokai as well, which is seems ballsy. Yeah, I mean, there's not like there's healing to be cutting really from the side of Munster, so maybe our Agent Tower and our Karath are going to make this bot lane a little more exciting than we expect.
Now, I'm not going to encourage betting, but I'm going to go by the channel points and say everyone is predicting Munster to win based on the draft. So I have to go with the majority. That's just how it works.
Yeah, democracy rules here in UKL. Synergy is not a dictator. We can vote him out if you vote your channel points. Just a heads up, guys. So they are going to crash these waves normally right now, and we're going to see if Polyakov can push Manrobo about a little bit as well, because this is a strong mid laner, but, you know, Corki doesn't tend to be known for dominating the laning phase.
Precisely. And we'll just see it here now, like Orianna's going, I have lower mana costs, and try to contest push. Corki tries to fight that back by trading into Orianna herself, and then we just end up with this lull where it's going to go even. Bot lane wise, nothing too much happening, and Aatrox just taking natural prio in top lane as well.
Yeah, so pretty much it does seem once again that, as you said before, Dunlossie is kind of set up to be the main carry here, with Shida going up against Ornn is unlikely to, shouldn't be finding too much, but hang on a second, Mask and Jelly not wanting to wait like last game and forces the flash of Arkarath, trading his own and the Ignite to push back this bot side. So, as we expected, bot lane is going to be more exciting than maybe the matchup would suggest.
Now, the other part that we need to notice here is I believe that Graves was trying to do a vertical jungle here by starting on his red and going to Jarvan's blue. Jarvan read that and went from his blue onto his red buff and then starts doing that. But now Graves is doing a transition gank through mid lane and forcing summoners out with Corki here. With
Corki, he's got to get away, and Manrobo still takes a decent amount of damage back. So, I mean, is that worth to trade the flashes with the jungler, or is it still, would you want to get rid of it?
Absolutely. Like, if you're looking at this from the point of view, you're trading flash for flash, but also the HP pool that has been dropped, and now you're going to probably force out the TP after this as well to be able to answer back onto Orianna. And that's absolutely fine. That's a really good trade for Mythos. You could already see that Graves was trying to build his advantage naturally from how this matchup plays out 1-on-1. Jarvan just pathed really well here, by the way, to go from blue to red and just avoids that. He'll be a little bit behind on camps, but he'll make sure he'll get crabs, and now he's going back up for top crab as well. So, yeah. Like, what can you say? Nice pathing from Jarvan, but also a nice attempt by Graves.
Jeez. Coming straight in onto Goose here as he goes back onto this top side as we expected. Polyakov did drop that TP, and Manrobo matching it as well to catch the wave crashing in. So, a little bit of action, no kills just yet. And now, if we check the on top lane here, Shida with that Doran shield, just shoving in the wave. Synapse happy to take this, he knows his role in this game.
And you're seeing a weak side from top, strong side from bot lane, and it's playing out how they wanted. And if you're going by a pre-plan, this is favoured for Munster, but we see a little bit of exploration here by Graves. He's just poking in to see what's going on here, seeing if Gromp was available, because he did have the timers from earlier on. Drops the Warden, spots him, but doesn't feel like he's got the backup from his team to take that on just yet.
Just gonna step back, pick up the Raptors. Synapse taking another bit of damage from Sheila. Tower shot trading back. Actually goes back in for the knockup. A nice little grass proc there. Synapse playing this out pretty well. Will run themselves out of mana before too long, but with biscuits ready and Ornn items coming through, pretty happy to take this one again. And now Dunlossie going in for round 2, sneaking into the jungle.
Now, not quite a montage moment there by Synapse, but as we see Dunlossie go here, he's just constantly looking for the 1v1.
Ooh, he's gonna get that big wolf as well. That's nice for him. Polyakov's coming through, but Sheila does have prior and is coming through the top side jungle, waiting to see if he's needed. But just a nice little advantage there, gained by Dunlossie.
Welcome to Graves versus Jarvan, where Jarvan has to give up camps, but Graves can constantly look for this, but Jarvan will just be more useful in teamfights later on. This is exactly what Dunlossie needs to be doing. It's exactly what we're looking for and what we were talking about, where Graves is going to win this 1v1 matchup, and this is how you do it. Priority from top lane, priority from mid if you can get it, and then just invading as much as possible.
What's the we've got the matching tier starts as expected in mid lane, but with Polyakov and this Corki, we've seen some zany builds coming through from Corkis. I mean, for anyone who watches the LCS, we saw Power of Evil take Leandries and Muramana to much grief on the incredibly intellectual website known as reddit.com, but do you think that is actually as it is, or is it still, do you have to just go create items on Corki?
I mean, if you're going to go by the numbers here, Magi Felix 1, KOE 0, so in reality, then that is the better build. That's just how it works.
Yeah. Once again,
but I think you're much better off going for that Manamune, going in for rapid fire cannon, standard things. I'm not too sure if he still goes for maybe like Trinity Force or something. The first item for me is something I haven't seen much of Corki, so I'm intrigued to see what he goes, and then I'll build off from there.
We'll get some results-based analysis on the table here. That's what we like to see. Let's get that one going. As we have Munster taking control of the River Vision, Goose hanging around that dragon, maybe looking for a play, maybe looking to just start up this dragon as Dunlossie is going to come through and probably force Goose to slide his way out of the pit before too long. Actually going to get helpfully lanterned out by Mask of Jelly, though the crab is still Mythos's.
So, Munster there, they're building control from their bot lane, and then trying to go into river. Smart, makes sense. And then you have Mythos here, is where I'm starting to see, will Aatrox actually move from top lane with his prio down to mid lane? So far, we haven't seen the movement, so that says to me that no one's going to test this Drake, which is par the course for Mythos games, because he's going to go and directly beeline for blue buff, and then potentially that Herald.
I'm going to keep the stats in check here. Wants to keep my analysis correct, which I appreciate. Thank you. I think we might have, oh, not a little pause, just a little visual bug, and now they're actually going to take this blue buff away as well, so continuing control of that topside jungle, but the dragon's going to be traded for it.
And we just see neutral trades, but I believe this will be in favour of Mythos in terms of golden experience that's handed over and what they'll get. But at the same time, if MRG are able to reset now and come back onto their next play, they might be able to answer this in top lane if they're fast.
Yeah, there's no TP for Polyakov. Synapse is going to spot this one out. It's going to give him a little bit of time to think about how he wants to approach this one. Drops Call of the Forge God. Synapse comes through. Gets caught by the Shockwave though and can't get the ult. Not forward. It's first blood for Dunlossie off the top gank.
Really nice usage there. So the Orianna ult stops the Ornn ult. The second part of it that would clear the wave, which enables them to keep the dive going. Orianna tanks the turret and then basically gets out of range once using her combo. Excellent dive, excellent usage there. Mythos take a massive lead. Yes, they might give it over Herald, but I think that is worth it based on what they have achieved from this. And there's even a world where they can use their TPs now to cheat and come back onto the map and be in a position to contest again. So let's see what happens.
Yeah, they've already rocked up to this top side jungle. Polyakov has arrived with the package though. Another factor that Corki does bring to these games. Huge impact on these fights, and Goose looking to try and catch Arkaraz slipping in the jungle. Polyakov dives over with the package to secure this kill and is going to take it, no questions asked. That is a counterplay by Munster, and now the Herald should be theirs.
So that's the reaction that comes out of MRG based on the fact that they based after Drake and then immediately into topside to answer after Mythos's recalls, and that means that then Mythos cannot walk in that area of the map. Like, that is effectively MRG territory or no man's land. Gets punished for walking in that area, and then Herald is given over, and then ultimately all we saw was objectives traded, but in return Mythos got a kill and dive, but now they've kind of lost out the really good things I was about to talk about them. Like, they did something so well, and then they've given the kill over, and the gold is 1k, but ultimately I think most of that is on Aatrox versus the Ornn specifically.
Yeah, it's still trading aggressively onto Synapse, who has some of the tankier items coming through here. Sheeta obviously going straight towards that Gore Drinker as is natural. And just going to be shoving in this wave. Synapse with the TP starting the recall, might choose to get back there as the bot lane's actually returned there, so not opting for the full lane swap is Monster.
Remember that moment where I turned around and I said, you'll look at the scoreboard and you'll see 30 CS, 40 CS, 50 CS?
Yeah.
That's happening. But I think Aatrox might be caught here.
It's happening faster than we expected. As Sheeta is forced to flash over the wall, and Dunlossie will just cover the retreat and slide away. So Monster trying to make an aggressive play, but the summoners will at least be taken away.
And they swap back to standard lanes, but they have to use TP to answer the wave in top to make sure it's not lost. Then by the time he TP'd up there, he lost 2 minions, but he'll pick up this wave. Nice. However, this does open a window for Mythos. With Aatrox walking back to top here to pick up his wave, he'll still have his TP. If MRG's bot lane now push too far, there is a very real world where that Aatrox is going to come in and ruin your day. So, let's see what they do. See how they punish it or set it up.
So we now have the Mana Moon completed by the looks of it for Polycop. So first little item on deck there, whereas Man Robber is still building towards that early Mythic. And Keverman almost at that Essence Reaver on the bot side as well by the look of it. So we could see some items coming through for Monster to help them get through this next fight in a couple of minutes. Or they might look for a play even before that, as Goose has the Herald and Polyakov is tending towards the bot side.
Now, my concern of this is I'm seeing this Maokai and Karma in the game. It didn't get prio. It hasn't helped the team so far. They haven't played towards it, so it's just a scaling option in that sense, where it's just meant to be shields and heals. But like, why not take Senna then? Is my real question. As we see Goose here go a little bit aggressive, burns the flash there.
Yeah, they've got that Herald still, so you're going to push up and get this one dropped, so maybe try and secure this first tower gold. Unless you have that top side with Sheeta pushing in, so they might try to find something there, but looks like it's going to be this first tower basically grabbed up with nothing.
It's slow, methodical play here from MRG. Like, they're on course for a Drake Soul. They've got Drake in a minute, which I believe they'll take bot lane and then attempt to look for a reset, or they just stay on map and contest. Doesn't look like they're going to be able to get that one though, because the tempo is not on their side for this. But Dunlossie is on the other side, already taking away camps and trying to make Goose's life hell.
They've already got almost double the CS of Goose right now. Yeah, getting towards that 50 CS mark as we expected, and Synapse now is on the receiving end of another dive. Just a 2-man one this time though, but does have the flash and the Call of the Forge God to shove them away, and Synapse playing this one out a lot better, does not fall down, and she actually takes a lot of damage too.
Without the Orianna there able to cancel the second part of Ornn's ultimate, creates a real problem that he's able to clear the wave instantly, and he's so tanky now that he wastes all his time. In the meantime, MRG have reset and now come back onto the map, and they're looking at River and going, this is our free Drake now, thank you very much, we will take that.
They do still have TP on Sheeta, so they could choose to go for it, but there's no package this time for Polyakov, and yeah, they might be able to contest a lot easier.
See, my only concern about this is maybe that I would have liked them to have held that Herald a little bit longer. They didn't need to use it as early as they did. Okay, TP's coming in. Here's that Aatrox. TP advantage.
Nature's Wrath has come through. A big shockwave catches 2 carries of Monster, and Mythos are going to grab that advantage. Aiden's Hell finding the kill. Keverman on the bot side, but Dunlossie with complete control of the pit will take that one down. A well-played team fight catches Monster out.
And this is where I was about to actually say, I would have preferred that they held the Herald to actually use as a tool to mitigate that TP advantage. Because Aatrox can't TP if you use Herald in a different lane when Drake was coming, and then Aatrox isn't able to move into the fight like that. But ultimately MRG had position, but Mythos had the execution in when they needed it.
Man, Robbo trades aggressively, gets pushed back and is on an absolute sliver. The second game in a row, we see an invisible health bar escaping away in that mid side. Does have to use the flash as well.
That's got to be single digits, right?
Yeah.
It's got to be. Like, Orianna just walked away with that 3 HP, but you're starting to see now that Corki's going to become a problem, and he's free scaling. And the opposite point here is, once we get to team fights later, how do you actually get to Corki? Because it's got to be someone putting their face on the line, or Karma allowing you to run at them, because there's no real direct engage. And don't tell me that Maokai isn't engage. It's just too slow.
Yeah,
like,
not on Corki. Yeah, he's got fleet footwork as well. Like, he can kite that one out pretty easily.
So Dunlossie here, he has done well in his matchup. maybe I slightly disagree with the pathing on that second dive, given how tanky Ornn was. But ultimately, he's making things happen, and Mythos have played to their composition of what they have available.
A lot of mythics coming through. Actually 4 mythics for Mythos and not a single one done for Munster at this point. Mythos with a little window maybe to push some advantage if they choose to find it. A lot of summoners still ticking away waiting to come back up, but someone else who hasn't really been punished is Kevinman and Mask of Jelly that much on the bot side. Kevinman, like Polyakov, is just kind of scaling up, has the Essence Reaver, has the healing reduction as well from the Executioner's Culling. And that's going to become a problem when these teamfights start to explode if Munster can at least, you know, get them started off a little better.
See, I'm okay with the whole point about mythics, by the way, because at the end of the day, you need other items completed to actually feel the benefit of them. It's still just a completed item at the end of the day in reality. So, I think they'll be fine with it. And a lot of their spikes will come in on the second items, and that is their scaling point. I think the second Herald here, they're okay to give this, but they do have their TP if they wanted to answer. Would they want a 5v5 now, knowing that they can just scale? Maybe not.
You seem a lot more comfortable grouping up and contesting space now, Mythos. They have, you know, the Maokai ultimate up, and Dunlossie's feeling good with that shield bow.
We see there the second Herald given over. Let's see how Mythos decide to accelerate the game. If they use Herald top here and go for tier 2, while MRG trades for tier 2 as well, honestly, I don't think that's quite in favour of Mythos.
Yeah, I mean, despite the fact that Mythos actually won the last fight, their gold lead has disappeared. It's now slightly in favour of Munster by 100 or 200 gold, so it seems like they are still slowly, kind of, the game is edging away from them, though they grab this tower and top side to get themselves a little injection there. With this 3-man unit and the Herald being dropped, Call of the Forge Guard being dropped onto Manrobo, trying to get a dive off, and Kevinman will snap up that kill. Now they can contest mid, and MRG not wasting any time counterplaying.
So MRG decided to switch up. I thought they would go for the bot lane tier 2 with their engage options, just immediately go into the Aatrox, and then you just see Mythos go for tier 2. They tried, no, we're not going to do that, we'll take mid lane instead for the strategic value for later on. Aatrox here looks like he's caught out as well with his flash burn. Yeah,
the boxes come through, and there comes the root from the Zaya, and Polyakov now the one picking it up. Both carries some Munster grabbing a kill there. Can sign up, save that top lane tower if you burn out those moves. No, it just falls. That's a bit of a bummer. It will be traded by the mid lane ender though.
While these trades are all coming in, I don't think allowing them to break your base was entirely worth it for that, because now there's an open inhib. It's completely naked, and that can create a real problem. Dunlossie here looking like he's going on the Great Escape.
He is going to try and find his way to an execute, I imagine, or maybe try and get Greedy to slide through there. Polyakov can easily reach him with the W, and now the execute is off the table. Dunlossie already used the ultimate to escape, flashes though, and has that shield, bow shield coming through. The rest of his team can maybe get him out, and he'll actually survive this one, so expensive in cooldowns, but not in gold.
Still running, still going to get out of there. And then we're looking at what he has to recall, unless he lifesteals up. Are MOG going to take control? Or is Dunlossie going to be able now to actually... Yeah, he's actually going to be fine. He's got the fruits here. He's going to be able to get back to full HP. I believe that's going to be Mythos Drake, because MRG don't want to contest right now. They're playing to that scaling composition.
Yeah. Do you think they have the power to contest this one? I mean, they are still, you know, slightly ahead in the gold. They've got some items coming through.
I mean, yes, if they had their tools available.
Sure.
Unfortunately, Jarvan ult and Ornn Ultimate are both down after the previous trades in the timing for fights, so without those, it's not going to work. Especially when you're running into Orianna ult, you're running into Karma, and yeah, it's just not going to be a good time. So I think this one makes sense to give up until they have their tools available. Just play for something else instead. Go for top lane tier 1 maybe, and then start really just handshaking. Because so far, I mean, they're ahead on gold. They're okay with this. This position is fine for them.
Yeah, this is looking like a more, you know, controlled Munster that aren't kind of hemorrhaging gold in that early stage. They're not getting run around, they're not getting steamrolled over and then unable to get the lead back. They're playing safe, they're playing slow, and they are holding on to a lead that they have generated through these small advantages, which is now serving them pretty well as they've got the push on top side. And as you say, they're happy trading these objectives because we would give them the advantage in that scaling.
Yep. And Corki here catching waves nice and high, which means that he's going to get the most amount of time to move wherever he likes in fog. And MRG have full control on this red side quadrant of Mythos, and they'll probably even look for tier 2. And if anyone walks out one by one, I think Aatrox might be in trouble here with no flash.
Little Trinket will, I think, spot out one member, but they don't necessarily know the others. They will now see that someone else is there, and the tower's going to fall. Mask of Jelly not going aggressive, maybe doesn't have enough confidence as to where the other members of Mythos are, but the tower still falls at the very least. Gold lead over 2k now.
See, it's the benefits of having 2020 vision that we can see everything. MRG don't know how many people are coming out of base at that time, so they didn't want to look, which makes sense. It's fair enough. Like, why you need to risk anything if you can get the tier 2 for free, base and reset? What I'm looking at here is like those kind of like the extras that you get, you know, when it's like the 2 for 1.
Yeah.
Let's see here. Graves in the meantime, it's just lots of trading, like where the rotations are coming from. This is like a game of no PvP. We're just gonna walk around the map and whoever has a quadrant.
Yeah, basically just a business meeting here with the amount of handshaking being done by Munster and Mythos as they circle around the map. Oh, they're going to kind of try for look at something. Polyakov goes aggressive onto Man Robert, takes the shockwave and loses a lot of HP. Tries to get the honey fruit, does have the package to get themselves out, but instead wants to go in. But here comes the call of the Forge God. Can they find something? The second charge is not gotten. Polyakov flashes forward, tries to finish off the kill onto Agent Tao, but leaves themselves completely outnumbered now. And there's the shutdown picked up by Manrobo. Munster, you've lost your mid lane carry. Maybe it's time to call this one off.
Polyakov was looking at the play in his eyes and went, that could look good.
Yeah.
And then the rest of Mythos just looked at him and went, what the hell are you looking at?
I don't see it.
We don't see it, and then just closed the door. And if the double TP came in and maybe flanked in at the same time, that could have been good, but Ornn's second ultimate to actually get the knock-up side of things was interrupted. You got a Corki package being used to actually run away and not deal damage, and then he has to sprint back to his team, and then it causes all kinds of problems. He then re-engages, turns around and tries to go back in, and then immediately gets collapsed upon, and you're left wondering, going, that wasn't it, Chief. Like,
yeah, at the very least, it's a 1-for-1 when you're that deep, right? And you're going on to Agent Tao, it's the karma. He's not that mad about trading his life for Corkis, I imagine.
And I think now we're just going to go back into a lull. Like, MRG are going to have to reset up that play in a minute or two, so it'll be coming out now, where they have to go in and get vision off the waves that they're going to push after this. Mythos try to answer that in return by Orianna pushing up this wave. Orianna joins in mid lane after, and just going to see each team take their turn as to who's going to get vision and control.
Yeah, we have Munster pushing up to get control of this Baron wave, testing the waters in this top side. Jungle Polyakov in that top river as well, just kind of waiting, pushing that wave in. Has gone for the Triforce as well, so we wonder what option they were going to be, and it's going to give them a little more attack speed going forward, a little more general stats across the board, but maybe less burst damage.
Now, the part I'm looking at here is, what is Maokai building? Because he's a little bit far behind, and now MRG are going to try and force our Baron play here.
Yeah, the vision's going to come through. Manrobo drops the pink there, and Agent Tao's a little bit behind the curve, but there's still 6k, and it's been peeled off by Munster. Mask of Jelly looks for the hook, will not find it. MRG trying to get the inside track onto mid lane. Now Dunlarcy and Agent Tao going to reach them there, but in goes the aggression by Kevman. Dash forward with the Gale Force, and Agent Tao is caught way out of position there with no flash, and there's the opening kill. Mask of Jelly finds the box and forces the flash out of Goose. But now, or Dunlarcy I should say, but now a nice shockwave countered by Manrobo, drops them very low. War Goose is going to fall on the front side. The carries from Munster, can they do enough? Kevinman finds the kill, and the flash will not save Shida. It's a very even team fight so far. Manrobo drops kind of low though, Dunlarcy getting pushed back. The carries of Munster doing the damage.
So you're starting to see here Mythos running out of damage as they go. Aatrox goes in, tries to buy a load of time, and in actuality he did so well with Core Drinker and everything else implied, but Karma and Maokai just do not deal damage. Karma's caught beforehand, they don't get the benefit of her healing, and then Corki and Xayah are just allowed to free hit on whatever's in front of them, creates their own problems. And big win from MRG here, they reset, and they're going to come back out on map and then be able to start building onto Drake here.
Yeah, with Dunlarcy pushed out of the fight as well so early, has to go back to base. That's you've built the team around this carry top side. The 202 Graves can't do anything with the Karma is dead, and he's in base. But they are going to try and rush this dragon out before a response can be found. Goose is not close enough just yet. There goes the Lantern, tries to get over, but it won't be enough. And the third dragon is Mythos, now Ocean Soul point for them.
I think that one, they got on benefit of the fact that MRG just had to reset, but they should lose Baron here for this. Or at least they should lose all full control over Baron for it. It's whether or not they decide to force it. I don't think they have to. In actuality, they know they'll win the team fights. They know there are flashes down on carries. Jarvan ult, followed by one ult, kill that target, and let's go.
Yeah. somebody I've been really impressed with so far has been Manrobo on this Orianna. Has kind of done decently in the lane so far, got a couple items on deck, and has some really good shockwaves so far that have been disrupting Monster's attempted plays. So they're going to have to be wary of where this ball is, because it could be the key to getting Mythos back in this one as Manrobo, waiting to see if Kevin steps too far, isn't going to find anything. Mask of Jelly actually locks onto Agent Tower, forces the flash out, in comes Call of the Forge God to try and potentially disengage as Mythos running forward, dashing to secure that first kill. Mask of Jelly will be taken down by Dunlosi. Goose looking for the re-engage, but there comes the Orianna ball, and in comes a package to secure it, but now there's so much damage raining down on top of Mythos. Polyakov is going to get caught by the shockwave, and Manrobo will trade that kill. All of a sudden, maybe it's Munster who've stepped too far forward. An attempted ult play by Xayah will come to nothing, and Mythos now fighting back. Manrobo and Arcurath, the last men standing.
Oh my. Okay, so how do we break this one down? Corki once again in Narnia. The fight is starting without him being there to begin with. Thresh takes the hook, thinks it'll be fine. Flashless Karma, let's go, like decent engage in our control. He then looks in and gets immediately Maokai ulted. He's going in solo. Then the rest of the team can't follow because of that Maokai ult. Ornn then comes in with his, and the engage is disjointed. Like, the damage isn't able to actually hit when Mythos are having to be knocked up or they're CC'd by that ultimate or engage. Jarvan landed a 3-man ult there, but there's just nothing able to follow up. Like, he bought so much time. But we see as it starts, these longer fights begin to come into place though. Keverman and Corki finally arrive, deal out a crap ton of damage, and then we're back into this game where big team fight didn't change the game though. Like, Baron's not taken, no turrets taken, no objectives taken. Yeah. But time has been delayed, where Drake is now a potential play on the table. If they try to go for Baron, then maybe a handshake and a trade if they don't do the setup correctly.
Yeah, that is kind of a handshake where your hand's getting crushed by the others, I think. Giving away Ocean Soul is not what you want to be doing at this stage, I feel, given that Mythos are already demonstrating that they can kite back and win these fights. And once again, dude, Manrobo living to the end, finding the kill onto Polyakov, not getting caught out. He's been a bit more of a background player for Mythos so far, but now I'm really liking what I'm seeing here. Dunlosi is getting a lot of focus on top of him, and Robbo's there to pick up the slack.
And I mean, quick checkpoint here. They're going to go for Baron, but in that time, I'm looking at that grades. That's 100 CS ahead, by the way.
Oh dear.
And 3 levels up. This is why they're struggling so hard to do Barons here, because Graves is going to come in, and if he gets to this pit, he's going to outsmite them.
Yeah, 3 level advantage on the smite. In comes a TP from Sheeta, but is it too late? Under 4k HP on the Baron, but Monster once again peeling away. They don't want to take the flip. In comes Synapse, ultimate Call of the Forge God. Will not land on anyone. Nature's Grasp comes out of Arcurath. Can it find a route? Synapse will just unstoppable his way through with the Bellows Breath, and ults are dropped. No one is killed. The Baron is reset. Neither of these teams want to put a foot wrong right now.
Mythos here, they're looking at that and they go, okay, you engage, nope, we'll back off, immediately throw the disengage ultimate from Maokai, and then we end up kind of just seeing 2 teams looking for opportunities but not finding anything. Which, ultimately, Mythos are kind of looking at this and going, we like that, thank you very much. And
I'm wondering when the package is coming back on for Polyakov as well. I think the timer, what is it, 5 minutes or so, the cooldown on the passive?
We saw it 2 minutes ago, so it's likely going to be down for this Drake fight.
That is
so this pivotal fight, he's not going to have it, to my knowledge.
Yeah. He has been using it in not the most efficient ways so far, but I mean, at some point, he's got 3 items completed, it's not going to matter. If he catches one person with it, it is going to chunk off their HP.
So, if it is going to come up, he's going to have to base, pick it up, and then TP back. And then he can just use it in the fight. Or he just picks it up, bases, and then just runs, using it as like a way of crossing between lanes. Mythos here looking aggressively for mid lane priority and then coming into the objective on Drake and setting up their control now while they see Corki in top lane. They've got a problem though because they haven't cleared out the ward behind them.
The plans onto Dunlosi, we won't take too much damage as once again Corki is still running. Call of the Forge God almost back up. The rest of the ultimates across the board are ready. Nature's Wrath coming online just now. Dunlosi dodging the hook this time, trying to clear out some vision. Sheeta on the side with a blast cone if they want to use it. Now Polyakov has been swatted, but he's quite low. He's lost half his HP, but Arcurath maybe looking for it. MRG trying to find Sheeta. Both sides, the flankers have been rumbled and now trying to force their way back in. But now a flash order Dunlosi onto Polyakov, gets the slow one.
Gone.
Boom! Goes the shotgun, and there goes the carry of Munster. Now Mythos, this is the go trigger they needed. Manrobo with another shockwave, but I don't think it's enough. They will find the kill, and there it comes, the team of Mythos just swarming over the side of Munster. Kevinman, the last to live, chased into the jungle. There goes the Ocean Soul. Mythos, they break the game wide open.
It's at that moment you're Kevinman and you're looking over and just being like, how did I get here? What happened? Why am I like, why is this happening to me? But in reality here, MRG, Corki goes down low, doesn't really know. They're too slow on the play to get full control of the objective. Corki has TP, he has every option. They just don't find that fight that goes front to back because they're segregated from each other. And then Mythos take full advantage of that. They blow up Corki on the side and say, okay, now we'll turn on the rest of you. And they get run over. And you can't escape from Karma when they're running at you and the damage isn't together, so...
Polyakov comes straight through the TP and the package, has to use the W again to escape, and the Baron is still secured by Mythos. Synapse is also rocked up with the TP, but probably just wants to get out of there. Mythos are going to let them leave. They have the Ocean Soul to heal themselves back up, but Goose doesn't want to make it that easy. In comes the Knob with another massive shockwave for Manrobo, will counter the engage. Arkarath does fall to Polyakov, but it's still 4 Baron buffs for Mythos.
Yep, and can I just give also, this is probably the most luck that Mythos are going to get, because they got an Ocean Drake like map while you have Maokai in the game. And Maokai just goes, ooh, bushes, and just keeps throwing saplings in and giving you like all this control that then MRG are trying to have to deal with and run through. So I just don't understand why MRG weren't forcing harder, like earlier on. When they had Jarvanort, when they had Ornn, why not just combo it together with the damage that they had available? But here we are, this is the game it is now, and Mythos have just come out of base on their reset, looking to utilize Baron to then start breaking into the base, and maybe taking that inhib, which has been open for the past 15, I believe so, minutes.
Yeah, they cracked that a while ago and just haven't really found a fresh minute to go back and check it, as now they have the Baron pushing up in that mid wave. It's Sheeta on the top side, Polyakov coming up to contest, and to be honest, it could still be a fairly even fight if he can dodge out the Darkened Blades, and Sheeta knows this is not the favourable matchup. It's going to step away.
Run.
Donlossi and Agent Tau, Arkarath coming through, Manrobo as well. Can they pincer? Looks like they can. Corki with nowhere to go, no TP, no flash, no package. It's looking dire for him right now. Gonna get absolutely monstered, bully circled in the top side, and that's another opening for Mythos.
We don't say anything, we just look at that and F in the chat, really. There's nothing. He tries to contest the wave high up, so that the way Mythos don't have a wave to play on to then start breaking the base, but ultimately gets caught doing so. And yeah, now you're fighting 5v4 against Baron and Ocean Soul. I think Mythos will try to end the game here if they so desire, and could even attempt it.
Well, here comes the wave, pushing forward. Donlossi stepping up forward, ever the frontliner, but in comes Mask of Jelly with that death sentence, lands the hook, but no real follow-up, and Donlossi is just behind the Nexus towers. They're not even down yet, and he's 1v2ing. Now the rest of Mythos will try to take down Munster. Kevinman gets back to another tower and picks up a kill on the backside, shuts down Manrobo. Synapse will now fall, though, as 4 members of Mythos are still looking healthy. Kevinman being hounded out of his own base.
Back.
Next tower will crash, still alive though. Can Polyakov find more damage? Agent Tau takes down Goose, forces the stasis out of Sheeta. Polyakov dropping the damage, but the Nexus towers have fallen and they can just go full hit on the base. It is not enough for Munster. Mythos, they had to work for it, but they will take this win again.
And as you see here, Mythos picking up the win against MRG, but MRG did put themselves in a great position to win the game and ultimately just didn't close out. That's the tale of the story. And then Mythos go, okay, we'll take full advantage and get to Drake's Soul somehow, because they were never forced on due to the fights prior, and they snowball that into a win. Like, it's impossible to try and fight against somebody with that Ocean Soul, with how fed that Graves was. I would love to see the damage charts on that Graves, because it's going to be astronomical.
Yeah, Donlossi, once again, the carry that Mythos needs, being supported by that comp build around him. We see him just going so aggressive at the end there, not hesitating to dive forward behind the Nexus to get those kills started off, and has been, once again, a very strong force for Mythos. If we look at a player of the game for that game, though, is it Donlossi, or is there someone else that you maybe feel deserves it?
It's going to go to Donlossi for me, or it has to go to the mid laner. Like, it goes either one, because of the fights that happened later on, of what they were doing and what they're playing. Obviously, you also give like the shadow MVP to the bot lane for being and recognizing, okay, we're going to play carries for you guys and support you in every single way possible, and giving that up. So fair play. They came with a comp today. It worked. They won, and I commiserations to MRG. They look like they put up a good fight. Hopefully they come back next week and don't become too disheartened.
Yeah, for sure. One of the better performances from Munster, as you say, played out the early game kind of how they should have done, and they had that small lead that they were eking out, but when it came down to those team fights, they just couldn't quite mesh the pieces together. They were never quite winning them out, either a little disjointed here and there, or getting caught on the wrong vision, something like that. So definite progress being seen here at the start of the second round robin for Munster, but still a long way to go for them. And Mythos are going to move up to 3-5, trying to catch up with the rest of the pack that is still, let's be honest, not that far ahead of them, as there's a lot of 4-3s and 3-4s right now.
Lots of hope there. Like, if you won this game, you're going to be in that hunt and you can still look for playoffs. For Munster, though, it's starting to look like one of those seasons where they need to get things together and fast to be able to even think about playoffs, but also just more so for anything in future about relegations. It's starting to look like that season isn't quite coming the way they planned. And yeah, I mean, I'm really hoping that Mythos can actually really push themselves into that pack and give some more good games.
Yeah, for sure. We love great games. That is what we're all about here, but that is going to be us for the first 2 games of today. I have been Trajan casting with Reclamation. It's obviously always great to cast with our guest colours, the UKL, bringing you new and exciting people on the desk every week. And we've got someone new and exciting coming in after the short break as well. It's the return of Darksil, coming back to the play-by-play position with the other Hapgood brother, Nymera. So you guys do not want to miss that one, with the other 4 teams and plenty more games today to catch up. So thank you for watching. We are going to go to a short break. Do not go anywhere. We'll see you there.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, and everybody else to the UKEL. I am Dara Dark Soul Mecco, and joining me is Alex Nymera Hapgood. I am delighted to be back on the UKEL broadcast, and Nymera, we have a great clash of the middle of this table. We have Nerd Rage versus Lucendi to start us off.
We've got you back. It's incredible.
We do. I'm
an
back
incredible
from the
sense
abyss.
of style too. I feel really underdressed now. I look at what you're wearing. I'm like, wow, crap. Maybe I should have been Mr. Esport with my tops today. But
That's what I'm
yes.
doing today. That's what
Speaking
I'm doing.
of Mr. Esport, we have a number of Esport on the Rift today. Yeah, that's what I was going with. We have Lucendi versus Nerd Rage.
You did it.
We've had a bit of a different week to each other. Lucendi coming off of a win versus Monster Rugby Gaming, who of course we saw in that last game too on the Rift on Thursday. Whereas Nerd Rage ended up losing to Vipero. But honestly, that was such a close game that they still should have a lot of things to build off of coming into this match. This is, even though there's that 1-win difference, it's still a pretty close game, and they could very easily leapfrog each other in the next couple of weeks, I'd imagine.
Yeah, definitely. When they're so close in the standings, Lucendi at 4-3, and then Nerd Rage at 3-4. But it has to be said, the last time that these two teams did face off against each other in the first round robin, it was a backdoor from Nerd Rage that got them the win in the end. So that was such a close game in and of itself. How do you think that this matchup will go this time? Do you think that will give a little bit of a boost of confidence to Nerd Rage, even though they are only on 3 wins?
I see. In the first couple of weeks, I was super high on Nerd Rage. This team,
I
came in
was
with
too,
a
definitely.
lot of style. Yeah, exactly. They were a bluntly fun team to watch, and that always gets my interest, right? Because even though I'm the color caster, I'm meant to be there, like liking the rotations and how people are drafting. No, sometimes I just want to see people get really flashy outplays. But speaking of really flashy outplays, Nerd Rage now have to contend with a slightly different Lucendi roster, which has of course got Blackbiss in the support role, and then also Paper Player on the top side. Last time Paper Player was on the Rift, I was casting with Grant on Thursday. He had a set matchup into a tank matchup, and he destroyed that game. He went like 11-0 and 7 or something, and now I'm terrified to see what happens in this top lane, because of course we've got Match Check up there from Nerd Rage. This is a top lane matchup for the century. Well, I'd say for the centuries, but like it's definitely the one for UKEL.
That is a statement and a half. It is a matchup for the centuries, ladies and gentlemen. Everybody else, that's what Nymera is saying right here, right now. We're going to keep our eye on that top side. I'm expecting kind of carry top players to be coming through from both these sides, genuinely, and that's kind of where I'm expecting for the junglers to be putting the early priority. Is that something that we should be expecting?
Well, last time we saw Mashak finally picking up the Kled, which they allegedly were the best Kled player in the world previously in solo queue. And I say allegedly because I'm actually not sure on the numbers of that. But, you know, we like to throw those facts out there. And regardless, against In4, against Vipero, that Kled looked nasty. Went for the tank build, Aegis into Sterak's, and just became such an immovable frontline. There were so many different fights we were just thinking, oh, what the heck? How is this guy still alive and gets 2 remounts in a fight? It's frankly quite distressing. But on the other side, I mean, we look at this player, which we were just talking about in Paper Player, and I think that this is going to be maybe not a carry matchup per se. We could have like 2 semi-brawlers or semi-tanks and stuff like that, but it's still going to be where a lot of the fireworks are going to be.
Yeah, we have seen Kled twice from the Nerd Rage top laner, and then we have seen a couple of other picks like the Camille, the Renekton, and the Gragas thrown in there as well. So a lot of these bruisers are available to him if he wants to go that direction, if the coach wants to go that direction in the draft. But if we take a look at the rest of the team, we've seen some mage carries in that bottom lane, the Orianna, the Syndra, also available if they want to flex solution maybe to the middle lane like we've seen twice previously. So they do have that kind of flexibility in their drafting, flexibility in their kind of compositional building that we don't necessarily see from some of our other teams.
No, and that flexibility will help, because at the end of the day, the Nerd Rage loss early in the week, it kind of felt like a bit of they have a late game center now. That's just kind of what happened. Sometimes there are picks or compositions which you end up facing and you just think, all right, okay, we played well, but honestly, it was just a tiny bit of draft diff, and that we've seen that in multiple different occasions. I think we've seen that a lot with, say, Demise and how they've been winning a lot of the games. And of course, Demise lost their first game this week, so maybe it's not the best comparison to draw.
That was draft diff too.
Oh no, it's all draft diff. But yeah, it's all draft diff. Always has been.
I was waiting for you to do that.
So there's one of the things which I've been really liking about the UKL is how the teams who have often won have found out ways to allocate their side lanes to get the best gold income and the best pressure across the map until those objectives spawn. We've seen that with Ryze and Yone from Demise. We've seen that from Malphites into various carry matchups, just shutting them down from various other teams too. So coming into this game, we've got Lucendi, we've got Nerd Rage. We know that these top laners have slightly deeper champion pools than some of the other players around, right? Because they do have those slightly more off-meta picks. Not many people play set top. Not many people play Kled top right now. We're going to see what's going to be onto the Rift, though. So we're in the draft.
We are into the draft, and the first ban will be the Zed, targeted towards Zyke in that middle lane.
Nice prize.
I'm waiting for innovation here. Because, well, if you can call it innovation, he's played it 3 times, and that's the bottom lane Maokai that we have seen a few different teams kind of pull out, and we saw it get a win in that last game, even though it was paired up with Karma. So I am keeping my eye on that kind of support role and see what innovation can come out from there, but Xayah being taken off the board as well as the Senna and the Seraphine coming out from Nerd Rage.
So I'm looking at the Ivern ban, the Xayah ban, Seraphine. Actually, all of these bans besides the Zed, which is completely different from those, are really good at just stifling engages and counter-engaging, right? You dive into Feathers, you dive into Daisy, Root Callers, and then, of course, all of the various kits of Senna and Seraphine too. You can tell that both these teams are trying to open up options to dive really deep and not have so much counterplay.
And they're also banning away the champions that are most played the split by each player. So ban away the Zed, that's more comfort pick, ban away the Udyr, ban away the Ivern, and now Lilia is first picked, and it's a very common first pick on blue side because it's just that powerful.
It just does a lot of things for different team comps. And as you're saying, a lot of these bans, while they also have this kind of theme to them of wanting to dive in pretty deep, they are very highly played across the UKEL and these players. So it's doing that double duty, right, where you get double the value for that one ban. The Amumu, I'm going to assume is a... I'm going to assume that's going to be a proxy pick, and I'm going to go slide over.
It's a Phelios.
And it's apparently a Phelios. So if you're banning out champions which like to be ran into and like to play the more counter-engaged style, Phelios is definitely on that list of champions which is currently unbanned but does similar things.
Yeah, it definitely is, and it's something that we've seen rise a lot in priority along with the Kai'Sa that we have seen picked up by quite a few teams in our league and in other leagues, but we have to talk about the Skarner, locked in by Magikarp. We've seen him on it once previously in the split. It was a loss, if I'm not mistaken. He's going to try to run it back and actually get a win this time around. What do you think of the early priority on that? It is into Lilia.
I mean, they already locked in their jungler. You didn't need to lock in the Skarner right then. I would have thought maybe even the Thresh was a better pick at that point, because now you've seen the Skarner, you know that Skarner Thresh is the combo, right? That's the one where you ult with the Impale, take the Lantern back, and the poor unfortunate soul gets dragged back with you, all Disney memes aside. And on the other side, Skarner can run fast. Civic Karma runs faster.
Yeah, we gotta run so fast, and then the Lilia as well. We all know how fast a Lilia can be, how obnoxious she can be, just dancing around in these team fights, dancing around in the jungle. And there is the Thresh that you mentioned.
I was just wondering whether Lucendi had an option to take away the Thresh, because I feel like Thresh is really strong, because you are going to have the ability to Gravitum root into Hook, and then once the Death Sentence lands, it's really awkward. Because I mean, so there are a lot of pro players on the support role who view Thresh as a very unreliable pick, right? Thresh is not a good champion if you can't consistently land hooks. Thresh is a very good champion if you land all of them. If you have stuff like Skarner, Syndra, Aphelios that can root as well, Thresh's value goes through the roof, because not only can you reposition these more immobile champions, you can also chain their CC too. Chain is kind of what he does anyway. It's kind of his thing.
And I'm excited to see if it will work out this time, because as I said already, the Skarner pick, it just didn't work out the last time. It just didn't hit the mark, and we're just waiting to see what the solo laners will be coming out from Nerd Rage, Lucian being banned away. I think that's more towards, well, it has to be more towards the middle lane, because they already have their Sivir picked up, so it's respecting the position, the ability to pick up this Lucian for Limsey in the middle lane.
It's been a little while since we've seen something like Lucian top, so yeah, probably would be going towards that lane. I wonder if that signals wanting to go for, you know, typical Orianna, have a bit more of that scaling factor. Of course, I mean, they do have the scaling from that Aphelios too, and it is going to be Orianna locked on. And why is this important? It's something which Sivir then has to be really afraid of, because if you start walking in towards that ball, you need to have Spell Shield up, like, constantly, because you're too short range to really outplay the ball, right? That's the big thing about Orianna. If you play into Graves, Sivir, even Kai'Sa and Xayah can have these problems. You just can't walk through choke points if Orianna is doing the whole control deck and being the you know, airport control, saying, no, you are not cleared to land here. In fact, you'll go to the Death Realm. So on the other side, got a little bit more spice, though.
Yeah, just a little bit more spice as Volibear gets locked in. So that's going to be Aurelia mid, Volibear top lane. And we all know what a Volibear can do. And we'll just have to wait to see what he will be matched into. Camille is up and available if they want to go that direction. So is the Kled.
So, I mean, the Kled certainly is. I actually wonder if that would be pretty fun just to have, again, more speed boosts for your speed boosts. And it does do pretty well into the likes of Volibear, but the Camille has been so high priority for such a long time. It's no surprise that's been locked in. The one thing is that it's not really got the best supporting cast in the rest of Camille's teammates to make the side lane play super uneven. That's why we see so much Nocturne, Galio, Twisted Fate that goes alongside that. Of course, one of my favorite things about Flavian as a player is that he finds really good times to roam. So if he's going to end up into the top lane, land a hook onto paper player and start tilting that top lane matchup, which has become a bit more of a carry matchup, which is really great for us as casting, hopefully as an audience, that could be very, very key to nerd rate. So I'm looking at Lucendi and thinking, all right, how can we get this Volibear trading well early against the Camille, and how can we stop Flavian getting up there?
Yeah, how can you start Flavian from getting up there? It's kind of exactly what we have to keep in mind as the game goes on. But we are just back in Champion Select. It was, of course, Aphelios that's going to be locked in for Haya in the bottom lane, and it was that Amumu that we saw as the placeholder. So we're just going to have to run through the bans once again, the picks once again, and hopefully we'll get into the game as soon as we can. We also have that 3-minute spectator delay that we have to work our way
It's a glitch in the Matrix. We're seeing Champ Select again. There's a cat walking across the screen. There's a... No Yumi. No Yumi. No cats showed on stream right now.
I didn't get that for a second when he said no Yumi. I was like, what? It's like, the cat showing.
Look, it's been a long split, dude. I've ran out of a lot of references. All of the top draw ones, they're gone. You now get like the third draw down.
I get the pick of the runt of the litter of references.
Gosh. Yeah, no, I mean, obviously, like, Initialize, Trajan, Grant, Viper, they've all ended up doing their tenure with me so far. I mean, the running joke is that they've just annoyed some higher power than they've had to get put with me. So good luck.
I hope you do reconcile. When I saw that I was with you. I was like, oh, yeah, I'm with Nymera. You know, it's going to be a great cast. We're going to entertain some people. Yeah. It's going to be great.
Well, I mean, it's been a while. I mean, we're picking up where we left off from back in the UKEL stream for some of the NLC stuff a little bit back in November. So how's casting and how's League been treating you since then?
I've just been working. I have just been working. That's why I haven't been casting UKEL at all, because I just haven't gotten the time off.
What a better time to come back and reconnect with it then, and learn about the current meta, which is all sorts of kooky. I'm really glad we've got so many skill
We can't call this
though.
Meta. Please don't call, like, Skarner meta. Is Skarner meta?
Yes, he is.
That's what I've come back to, like, Karma
particularly Skarner Thresh.
Bot lane.
Skarner Thresh is really strong. A lot of in fact, I think Skarner's actually getting, like, dumpstered next patch in the nerfs. I can't quite remember what they are. I'll go if I get some free time. I'll go pull up the patch notes. But it's been a long time since we've seen Sivir. That's the one thing I'm seeing that I'm like, okay, been a while.
It has been a while, but I have seen some pro players playing it in solo queue and going things like the Eclipse. Is that a build that you'd kind of, oh yeah, we should probably go Eclipse, or is there a better build path, or in your opinion?
I mean, when you are a short range AD carry, Gale Force always has value. But what we saw on Thursday, actually, we saw this on Thursday too from one of the teams. I'm trying to remember who played it. We saw it might have been actually another tournament, but we saw a Xayah Karma, and you normally think, okay, well Gale Force is really good on Xayah. Means you can reposition. Karma does that for you, so you don't need to go for the Gale Force. You can just go for the Immortal Shield Bow. You can just go for Kraken Slayer. It depends what they want. I think that because Immortal Shield Bow did get buffed quite substantially in the last patch, it's definitely a good item, because you don't necessarily need the ability to reposition yourself on the fly as much with the Gale Force, and you are going to be probably hitting people like the Skarner, Camille, who are running straight at you. I think that Highlander can afford to go more defensively itemized in this one. Go towards. I hadn't seen that lethality before. That sounds hilarious, and I might have to play that now.
Yeah, just keep throwing out your Qs, and
heck yeah.
then like no tank can really step up to you because you have that armor penetration. I'm just gonna keep mincing you, throwing out my silver Q, and nothing you can really do about it.
For sure, but I think we'll probably be seeing shield bow given this composition. Though I don't know if Civ is going to be the first one into the fray. Definitely not. I mean, you've got a lot of divers on your own side for Lucendi, so maybe the Gale Force is helpful.
You Volibear, Lilia, and you have Aurelia. If they're not going in first, you're doing something wrong, you know?
Yes. The question is whether you think that whether the dive from Nerd Rage can get on top of you first, whether that Camille and Skarner can get right on top of you. Because Camille, Oriana, if they land their stuff, you don't really get a chance to play out the team fight. You get ulted by Camille or hookshotted, the shockwave comes through, and then you kind of, if you don't spell shield the very first thing, then yes, is bad.
It is going to be very, very bad. Hookshot onto you with the Camille. You have the Skarner ultimate, Oriana ultimate with the slow from her QW. Aphelios with the Gravitum, as we already mentioned. Then all of the CC coming from the Thresh. There is so much to deal with on the side of Lucendi. And then on the other side, Lucendi have their own tools to get these team fights started off themselves. They have Vanguard's Edge from Aurelia. They have Lilia with the Lilting Lullaby. And then, of course, they have Volibear that can just jump onto the backline and start dealing tons of damage, even if he builds full tank.
Well, this is the thing, because I'm wondering what build Volibear is going to go. Are we going to see more of well, I mean, I'm not sure if he'll be a Divine Sunder again this game, because there isn't really a tank matchup in there. But you can definitely go towards Triforce and the like, and because your ult has a 250% AD scaling, something absurd like that, if you land on top of the Oriana and the Aphelios, it's... Yes, it's like that one scene. I'm trying to remember if it's an Acura where you have like that comet falling, and yeah. Anyway, various anime references.
He's just the comet of legend.
Yeah.
Just boom.
Wait, where's Aurelian Sol? He came from the next Summoner's Rift over. God.
It's like Aurelian Sol TFT where he just starts one-shotting everyone once he gets going.
God. So, I mean, fun story. That reminds me of it all because we've got a little bit of a pause coming in, I think. It reminds me of... So I used to play a lot of Warhammer, and so I played a lot of the tabletop game, and suddenly there was this unit release which had just pretty much an infinite range, because it was one of the big 40k things, and then it was the kind of thing, it's like, this thing is so scary that not everything just on this one table is fighting it. You've got like the cannons on the other thing from the fantasy thing firing at it, and then you've got like the Lord of the Rings things. It's like everything suddenly just comes in, and suddenly we've got Aurelian Sol flying into our rift, and yeah, it's all crazy.
It's like we need to hold everything, just attack this one guy because he's that overpowered.
Yeah, orbital strike inbound, let's go for it. I am totally dying, by the way, for like an orbital strike Karthus, just being like, oh, that would fulfill so many of my sci-fi dreams.
But then you'd have to give one to Gangplank as well, right?
Well, he has Dreadnova. So he has Dreadnova, which is pretty similar, I guess.
But it would be part of the same skin line.
True. Well, just for like artillery bot.
Unless like they're fighting each other or something. It's like you think your orbital barrage is good. Here's my orbital barrage. Say,
I'm not particularly like a graphic designer. I'm just sat there and like, yes, make the fun space laser.
Make it happen, please.
We did get Infernal Karthus was pretty fun for that though. Like just having this, living fire just. Bzz.
We will update you when we find out what the story is with this pause. We're assuming it's a pause going into this game since we haven't loaded in yet. And Alex,
yes,
guess what the predictions are in the chat for this game?
For this game, all right. So because I would imagine this was this poll put up before or after draft. Let me just ask that. Do we know?
I'm actually. Not sure.
Okay, well, I'm going to assume it's somewhere in between.
It was after draft.
After draft, I look at the Skarner and the Camille having to run into... I think that this Aurelia's got a really good chance to pop off, but I think that it's going to be close, because both of these teams have got a lot of low-range people funneling into champions which are good against low-range comps. Like, the Volibear's pretty good against that. Civ is pretty good against that. Oh, wait, but Felix is one of the best champions in the game against low-range compositions. I think it's going to be close. I reckon it'll be edged out slightly to... Let's go Lucendi because they won their Thursday game and it's on the momentum. So I'm going to say it's 55% Lucendi.
Oh, so close. It's actually 53% to Lucendi and 47 to
there you go.
Rage.
That's why you got me on the desk. That's why I'm the co-host.
so close on that one. And there's 11,000 channel points from one viewer. For Lucendi.
I was on another cast where I was kind of partaking in the draft in the prediction as it was happening, and I was like, wait, why is it not going through? I should keep pressing this, and I ended up putting about 2,000 channel points in before I realized that it had just backed up. It's like clicking the open new tab button on your browser, and then at some point your computer just explodes.
Like, here's 100
Chrome,
new tabs.
why?
Then Chrome just completely crashes and lose all of your data.
Gosh, please restore backup. Restore backup. God.
So it's still in a pause. Still in a pause.
Okay. Well, this is where we start podcasting, of course. So
Yeah, true.
what's
it becomes the LCK podcast, but the UKEL version.
I can vibe with that. What's your let's have a think of this. Ooh, have you seen any of the new skins coming out? So we've got like the new like
skins. I just got the Jin skin, the latest. Jin
oh
one.
yeah, because we had the Lunar Revel stuff coming out. Yeah, with the Year of the Ox. I mean, the Alistair one's really cool in that. I think that they made them look.
They're actually they are really cool skins.
Yeah, because like sometimes you think, oh, it's Year of the Ox. Ox aren't really that cool. They're not exciting. Well, yeah, you can give everything like flaming red horns. That makes it significantly more visually exciting. I really like what they did with those.
They have that with Alistair as well, because he's the cow.
Absolutely.
The ox, as it were.
Close enough. Yeah, bulls and ox are same thing, right? Yeah.
Yeah, it's true. Totally.
Yeah. Well, I guess we have. It's not going to be too much longer. I don't think it's only a couple of minutes in the pause. So I mean, my condolences for those having to listen to his podcast for that time, but. Yeah, I mean, it's nice to have you back, Dara, all things said and done. Did you have any favorite moments watching the UKL, if you did manage to catch up with too much of that?
I only got to team comps or browse the last few games. The set was the thing I think that kind of stood out in my mind.
Yeah, because we've had a lot of good memories.
And
we
actually
have
the
a riff to talk about
from Senna. That also.
There was that one, yes, and that was actually Nerd Rage suffering. No, sorry, no, that was it was Nerd Rage suffering that. Yeah, it's a Viperio, which was that was a hard fought game, that one. I mean, of course, it ended up with that Penta, and it definitely felt like the Senna was at that point where it was kill the Senna or lose the game. At least this game for Nerd Rage, it doesn't feel like there's any champion which is like that. If the Civid lives, you have the Orianna, the Camille, and the Aphelios, which can all kind of toe the line on your consistent damage numbers. So if one person falls at the start of the fight from each team, you're not feeling too bad.
Just an early bit of vision being established by Lucendi here. It's kind of what we expect of a Lilia, though. We expect that invade onto the Raptors. It will be spotted out by Nerd Rage, though. They have their own visual ward put down, and Magikarp has picked up that sweeping lens as well, so might be able to sweep away some of this vision. I think that they know that they put it down, or they just kind of assume anyway.
So, I mean, I'm pretty sure that Lucendi didn't see the initial ward go down, but of course they walked straight over to put their own one straight after. It's one of the things against Lilia, because of course we saw it the entirety of the Season 10 tenure of Lilia. It just takes Raptors way too quickly. You don't contend with that. You don't end up having any control over that camp. It's just very hard to really contest this. You put down that vision, you make sure that the early invade doesn't come through, because if you do get that lead on Lilia, she becomes very, very obnoxious, because post level 6, you're kind of like, it's kind of like having, it's the same kind of thing as Syndra, where you have your Scout of the Week, or in this case the Swell Seed going into your ult, which you don't have to commit your body to engage with. You can just wait until something lands and then follow up after with it.
Yeah, you have that bowling ball to set up the pins, knock them down, and you just put everyone to sleep.
It's the one.
I don't know if you liked that analogy.
Wow, Lilia is actually the ASMR champion. Wow, I never knew this. That's it. We need to. So I know that we've been podcasting. Lilia is the champion that needs the podcast skin, the ASMR podcast. There we go. Okay, so, I mean, I guess we got to check in with a couple of these matchups coming in. What's happening with the early priority? We see that Magikarp uncontested on his side of the map, and Shady uncontested on theirs, because it looks like it was the Raptor starting to topside clear. I guess that means that Shady has a chance to maybe do something on the top lane, paper player, taking some good early trades, so there is that possibility, because this wave's been shoved in so hard. This is what getting early priority does by you, because you're doing that in top lane, bot lane, and mid lane. The full court press from Lucendi has given Shady so many options early into the game.
And this is kind of how we expected these matchups to be going. We're expected Camille to be pushed in early. We're expecting him to kind of have a hard time until towards that mid to late game where he does start to outscale the Volibear. And then in the bottom side, Highlander just keeps throwing out those Qs, keeps hitting Haya in the face, gets him down to about half health. He needs to heal back up using his pot and using that Doran's Blade. So it is going to be a little bit harder for the side of Nerd Rage going into the first 5 minutes of this game, or the next 5 minutes of this game, I should say, as Magikarp gets the smite down onto his Grump, and they're just going to steal away this Rift Scuttle.
It will do. This is probably going to lead to a double Scuttle for Shady as well, because top lane also has priority, and Magikarp is looking for a Lantern gank at best, but that is such a nasty spell shield.
Nice play, and they are onto the support. He will be going down here. Just one more auto attack, the first blood to Haya.
And of course, didn't have Flash. We didn't end up checking in on that one. Lantern Gank pulls out a very large advantage now for this bot lane. So that's going to be probably a wave shoved into tower that Highlander won't have too much access to. And that gets this Aphelios, who can be such an important carrier against, as we said, a low-range composition for Lucendi to get active in the early game.
The wave does push into the tower. He'll be able to pick up most of this as the reset comes through from Haya and Flagon. Will have that kill in the back pocket as well as a little bit of extra CS over his lane opponent. So he can back by that Noon Quiver, have a nice early start to this game. And the Aphelios, he's just going to keep ramping up and up and up and be that late game powerhouse against all these low range carries.
And one of the things about Noon Quiver is it gives so much wave control, because every auto attack you have has now an extra flat 20 damage onto minions. Aphelios also gets, likes the attack speed from it in the AD. It's just a generically good laning item. Speaking of laning, top lane is now the name of the game. This Paper Player is under a threat.
Yep, stun goes down as well as the storm being called, but Volibear, can he get out? He still has his flash, so he should be able to get away. He's holding it for as long as possible. That is great discipline from Paper Player, as there's the solo kill in the middle lane.
It's the threat across the board. This is why you take the Ignite, early pressure from the Aurelia, and having access to the wave. We don't even get to see the top lane. It's just what's happening in these solo lanes. Deaths across the board.
Didn't get to see either of the kills actually in the end there. Shady starts off onto this first Drake. It is the Infernal Drake. Gives them a little bit of added damage, but it isn't really what we're looking towards. We're looking towards this soul. It will be a Mountain, Cloud, or Ocean Soul. And TPs are also being challenged. Shady is so low, forces the flash. Magix is looking for to run him down. A flash forward. He doesn't get the stun, but Shady pops the blast plan. Will manage to get out alive, but they have to give up the objective.
And that was like a 10th of a Teemo away from a stun from Magcheck onto Shady. That would have been the kill. Didn't have the Hextech ultimatum, though. I didn't have level 6. Really, really close to being an awful set of plays for Lucendi, because Paper Player had great discipline on the first gank, holding onto the flash, knowing they didn't have to use it, but then dies under turret. I guess the second round of cooldowns came up for Nerd Rage. And then, but after they die, doesn't communicate with the team that, hey, I'm going to teleport top lane, so you guys can't go for Dragon. It's now going to be a death onto the Volibear, but it still has a huge laning advantage. Magcheck goes and teleports down towards the bot side, doesn't end up getting anything for that, and loses a huge wave to tower top, as well as a plate alongside it.
Up by about 11 CS over his lane opponent. It will be kind of equalized by that assist. But as you said, he has the lane priority, has the measure of this matchup, even with the level 6 being reached by both of these top laners. And Flagon is looking for an in this bottom lane, as Shady and Magikarp are both towards this middle lane. And it's just kind of playing gatekeeper here at this point. You're trying to pick up all these neutral objectives, these Rift Scuttles, and Shady is marginally behind his role opponent, as that's just a kill in the middle lane.
It's not even going to be a flash. I think that was the shockwave into the Impale, all things said and done. And I was about to say, oh wow, Aurelia has ult, doesn't have the Igniter, but that's potentially something that they can 2v2 around. While it's going to be Magikarp first to the punch, and Nerd Rage seems to be, well, I mean, in multiple plays now, getting first swing at Lucendi, and they're coming out ahead in the early game with 1,500 gold lead.
And this Skarner already is off to a great start as compared to the last time we saw Magikarp piloting this champion. It didn't go well, but he is 2-0-1. He is level 6. he is making the plays at this point. He didn't even have to burn his flash to get that kill in the middle lane. That means he can flash Impale in the next couple of minutes to actually get another kill as well.
And I think you just do that onto the Aurelia again, because something which I well, I mean, I guess we referenced it with the Chrome, but I mean, it's like when you split push without teleport, you just always turn up late to the party. You are the Internet Explorer of split pushes. This is Ignite on the Aurelia. You don't really get to have the same impact as what Magic was trying to have in that bot lane kerfuffle and trying to go for that dragon. If you end up putting this Aurelia behind, they'll find it harder to have access to farm. They won't be able to push up and have the priority that they need to turn up to objectives on time, as opposed to sitting back under a turret and teleporting in. So I think Magikarp's flash should go towards this mid lane next.
Yeah, definitely should, and it should be done before Aurelia, before Limsey gets his flash back off cooldown. Another 60 seconds or so left on that. He has his Ignite back, so he can win in the 1v1 if he plays it well enough, as Shockwave is just about to come off of cooldown for the Orianna.
Yeah, it's cookie cutter. Do the same play again. Use both your ultimates, kill the Aurelia, move to something like the Herald.
And it's all this objective control that we see a lot of our teams going for. They like to play around these objectives, around these Drakes and the Rift Heralds to get them extra early gold, especially in pre-14 minutes when they can get those tower plates. And we're going to see a handoff of this blue buff over to Zyke in that middle lane. And as of right now, we don't see any tracks or any groundwork being laid to try and take this first Rift Herald.
No, and that's somewhat surprising for me, because we do have, you know, like a bit of a priority advantage for the Volibear in this early game. But I wonder if that is because Limsey doesn't have that flash, isn't ooh, Hook just missed it onto Shady. This mid lane priority has been a bit all over the place, because of course we saw the solo kill from Limsey, but then the kill back onto them with the duo of the Skarner and the Orianna. I wonder if it's just that fleeting mid lane priority which is making things difficult to start up that Herald.
It does seem to be the case as Camille makes her way down towards the middle lane, and they have to start doing something. Magix is just going to steal away this Rift Scuttle, try and establish extra vision, and also as a way to deny from Shady, who has been getting all of these Rift Scuttles. Magikarp towards the middle lane. Limsey will spot him out, so he has to stay away from the wave here. Shady is towards his bottom side, taking his own Krugs, and it looks like Nerd Rage are going to look for a play.
They certainly have the pieces in place to do so. There aren't any teleports to respond with on Lucian. Misses.
Didn't face check, but you really don't have to as the box goes down. Flagian picks up the kill, but that is a death onto the AD carry. He is off of the board for the next 30 seconds or so. And he's down by 20 CS.
It's going to be more than that. Of course, another wave's going to be lost to tower. But what are Nova Rage going to get off of that? Because maybe they can head towards the Dragon. That's the one thing. The question is that going to be traded for the Herald? If it's a Herald for Dragon play, I don't think that's the worst trade ever for Lucendi. But I don't think, even with the priority in top lane right now, that Shady's going to head over towards it.
And this is the second Drake being picked up by Magikarp. It will add a little bit of objective. It will add a little bit of extra resistances to the Nerd Rage team, and it does mean that it is an Ocean Soul that we are building towards in the next 12 minutes or so, off of spawns and off of kind of take timers. And this is a win condition for many teams.
That's the sleep.
It has to get the flash. Looking for the flawless duet, but he did get the flash away, so we'll manage to get that kind of almost intangible objective as a Shockwave locks him underneath the tower. Gets the flash out of Limsey as well. A little bit over-aggression there from the mid laner of Lucendi as Flagian is towards the middle lane. The Karma throws out in a power to Q. Gets the slow, gets a little bit of damage down as well as Magikarp is looking in the wing. Nice hook, but do you go for the engage? The flash is available, but the Impale isn't, so the play kind of fizzles.
So, I mean, this is one of the things about Aurelia. You don't really want to dive under turret unless you're significantly far ahead, which Limsey is not right now. And went for that play with the ult coming out, while the Flawless duet was not up. If you can chain one mark into a second mark, have that double amount of CC from the slow from the ult and kind of corralling them into those blades, and then the stun afterwards, there is a chance that you can make something happen with that triple Q effectively, having the two resets. But you will have to go under tower. Shockwave comes out. That was all always available, and now it's just going to be the flash away. Dive into turret top lane, though.
Paper Player, he's feeling himself, but he's locked into the Hextech ultimatum underneath the tower. First turret did go down to Haya in the bottom lane with the help of the rest of the team. The teleport is being challenged. Will he get the solo kill? The flash away. Magic's just about gets out alive. In comes Zyke now. He's looking for to run him down. We'll just clear the wave instead. Paper Player very low on mana here, so he has to peace out. He has to get the reset in. The pings are coming in from Nerd Rage. They want to start off on this Rift Herald.
So now, if Aurelia had a turret disable, maybe you can go for a 1v1. You see, Paper Player knows the true tech in League of Legends. You don't have to worry about the turret if the turret doesn't shoot at you. Even with the Hextech ultimate coming in from Magic, dodging out on the damage which comes out of that Volibear ultimate gets hilariously close. Zyke's teleport might have been able to clean it up if Paper Player had stayed around for a little longer. It seems like this Volibear doing very well in this matchup in the early phases of this game now.
And he has his first item completed as well. He has that Chem Tank in his pocket, as does Magikarp with the Skarner. Yet to see an item completed from Magic's just yet. He doesn't quite have enough gold to finish off that first
Trinity
item.
Force.
Sorry?
Trinity Force.
Trinity Force, yes.
Yeah. you see the axe thing and you're like, that's the new phage. Magic, though, it does a lot of damage to Highlander. But yeah, no, so the only thing which bails out of that axe is Stride Breaker, which Camille never builds, and then also the Triforce. So that's what I've been working off of. I also have a spreadsheet on the side where I'm like, what item do? What build for this item? Because I've needed that a lot this year.
Yeah, with all the new items, I'm surprised that I'm so well versed as I am on the new items. To know that's a Chem Tank,
oh,
to
you
know
better
that's
than
a
me,
Gale Force, you know, Noon Quiver. There's a lot to learn for a play-by-play. Even more for a color, but...
Absolutely. Well, I don't need to know the names, right? I just need to know the build paths. That's the difficult bit. We do have the Gale Force coming out of Aphelios. Yet to see what's coming out of Highlander, but Magic and Limsey going at it in the bot side. This is going to be a really fun side lane allocation if we do see this, because I think that the Camille Aurelia matchup is really, really fun to watch. You can dodge out on several of the abilities from the Aurelia, if of course you use your Hextech ultimating correctly from Magic. But then also, I mean, as opposed to the Orianna, the Blade Dance, the W from Aurelia can block out a lot of Magic's damage, right? Because it's mostly physical damage coming out from that Camille. So there is outplay potential with a lot of these kits against each other.
Camille's just gonna back away. He knows when he is licked. He also gets to pick up his Trinity Force. That is a very good power spike for the Camille, and he will just path his way towards the top side, play into Paper Player once again. He will start to eke out these leads, or as he scales into the mid to late game, he'll start to do better. But we're only 15 minutes in, so we have to check in on the gold. It is a 2.5, almost 3,000 gold lead for Nerd Rage. They are 1-4, and they have 2 Drakes building towards this Ocean Soul.
They aren't. Ocean Soul for these teams, because we know they're going to be pretty brawly games. We know that these fights are going to go pretty long because we have the likes of the Karma building up shields and stuff like that. It means that Ocean Soul is going to be very effective. That's such a fast
Karma.
little Scorpion!
Just a Chem Tank mixed up.
Yeah. Oh, they're going bot lane as well. There's no outer turret. This is looking pretty bad for Luchendi.
Yep, that's the flash forward. Impale brings the Aurelia back, but it's towards his own tower. The tower is gone, so it really doesn't matter as the Lilting Lullaby comes through. Shady is just going to go down here. That's a flash forward, but misses the hook. Shady just trying to hop, skip, and jump his way to safety. Paper Player, he is there. He is playing Gatekeeper. He's playing Bodyguard duty. Have start off onto this Drake. Zyke dangerously low as Paper Player looks for the engaged Magikarp, down to half health already as the engage goes through onto Highlander, but Paper Player is into the backline. That's the first kill going over to Luchendi. Can they take the fight though as Haya picks up another kill? It's onto Paper Player this time. Magic's dangerously low as the Q is being thrown out by the Sivir, but look at this Aphelios, 200 years to close out this team fight. He's looking for the quadra kill. He cannot find it, but they get the team fight win, and they get their 3rd Drake.
There's no Aurelia to be a dive buddy with Paper Player. The Lilia ult is already down, and here gets a really good weapon combo for that fight. Having the Chakram stacked up so much means that this DPS coming out of the Aphelios onto the sole diving champion of that Volibear on his face is way too high for Paper Player to stand by and deal with. So now at 4-0-1, this AD carry from Nerd Rage is off to the races.
It looked so good at the start. The engage from Paper Player, the damage being pumped out by Highlander with the Q and with the empowered auto attacks, but then you just get the Aphelios hitting you like a truck.
One of these is not like the other.
4 and 0. 2 items.
Yeah. Get absolutely season 10, I believe is the phrase. Limsey now looking for something on the side, lands the stun.
Yeah, great engage as the Vanguard's edge comes out, gets the flash shockwave, knocks him back. Does he get the disengage? Limsey just about gets the solo kill underneath the tower as Fleeton's waiting in the wings.
Does have that, but there's a lot of lifesteal in Limsey. Hasn't managed to get nearly enough HP for this though with the Impale involved.
Good flawless to wet, but the hook connects. He's going to go down. Magikarp now 3-0 and 6. Looking good on the Skarner, not like we saw him before. Does get a lot of pressure around this next objective. It will be a Rift Herald, if I am not mistaken. It's something that we see a lot of teams fight around.
I'm actually, so I'm looking at this. I'm not sure if Rift Herald's going to spawn before the Baron does. I can't remember the exact timestamp of it, but I don't see the little spawn marker on the map.
No, it's not good.
So I guess this is just priority, because I mean, technically the Baron's spawning in a minute and a half. So for 20-minute Barons, a bit of a hard thing to pull off unless you've killed absolutely everyone on the map so far. But with this Aphelios now having 2 items, I mean, it's a possibility.
Bowling ball connects. Lilting Lullaby gets popped. You look at the blast plant to safety. Shady, yep, can't even hit that really. Hookshot gets him to safety.
Okay, so the reason the Herald's not spawning is that it was taken at around about 14 minutes and 11 seconds, so thank you, Potion, for getting the timestamp on that one. And of course that means it won't spawn in time. It doesn't mean that it was around to get plates either. So we're kind of waiting for the next big adaptive fight, which will be that dragon realistically, because Nerd Rage don't have to force the Baron. In fact, what they can do is they can force an objective trade, right? They can say, okay, well, dragons spawn, but it doesn't matter to you, because a single ocean dragon means, well, diddly squat to someone who's only got, well, doesn't have any dragons at all. If they get the Baron, though, they can start playing around that a lot. Magikarp's going to Highlander now.
Ooh, good discipline on holding the E. But does get the ult out of the Sivir. Still holds on to both of his summoner spells, so that's good going into the next fight. Yet to get QSS on any member of Lucendi at this point. They're pinging the Baron.
They have the money right now.
They're gonna start it off.
They are. I mean, so we do see that the Gale Force picked up the Highlander. Had to burn that. Had to burn ult. They don't have a quick way to approach this objective now. And with Limsey in the bot lane, being the Internet Explorer, won't be able to impact this play on the top side. Looks like this is going to be an uncontested Baron at 20 minutes for Nerd Rage.
This will catapult them even further into the lead. 5,000 gold ahead, 20 minutes in. 3 towers to nothing. 3 drakes to nothing. Baron to Nerd Rage.
That's absolutely huge. 6,000 gold in 20 minutes. That's far beyond what you expect at this point. Items coming in from Nerd Rage far ahead of what Lucendi have. And because of course, the Skarner in the game, that QSS tax is going to have to be paid at some point. Because this, particularly this Aurelia, who has been locked up so much in these fights so far, is struggling a lot to start impacting these fights. There is still the chance of a miracle team fight from Lucendi where you can say, okay, right, we're gonna have everyone going in at the same time, and they can only CC one of us, right? And hopefully then you get to pop off. And the CC's coming into the Sivir though, really doesn't want to be there.
Yep, Sivir gets caught out, but he does manage to get the flash to safety as the teleport is being channeled. It is going to be Paper Player coming in. We'll get to this
Aphelios casually half-healthing 3 members of Lucendi, though.
Yeah, that's just disgusting. Out comes the Graviton. Will he lock them down? He decides not to. His Paper Player is going to be caught out. Here he goes in. That's the flash from Shady, but he's already being burned down. Paper Player, he's on his own in this team fight. A 1 versus 4 as Haya picks off the jungler. And on the backline, Magic's just trying his best as the Hextech ultimatum is issued. He finds the kill, actually goes over to Flagon, and that's another teamfight win to Nerd Rage.
Oh, what an Aphelios teamfight, looking at the Calibrum and the Graviton procs coming in time after time. Here was never in danger and was the danger himself. 5-0 and 2 after that. Nerd Rage come away with a sizable teamfight win, and with the Baron, of course, now they get to push in 5v2 with those empowered creeps too.
You only have your Karma Sivir to try and defend this. It will be enough to stave off the bleeding, the cracking open of the space. They lose an inhib, they lose a tier 2 in the bottom lane. and they're gonna lose this Ocean Soul.
You have to assume they are. So Maciek can still back off if he wants to, teleport back in. They have double teleports, no teleports to Lucendi. They have run of the map, run of the objectives, higher in gold right now. And speaking of that QSS tax, I mean, the gold lead, Adam, do you mind just flicking over to the individual gold leads observers, if that's okay? Well, yes, look at that Aphelios, look at that Civet. That's about, that's about 3 or 4 QSSs for EA. If he really wanted to, only has to buy one of them, though, and uses it well. Huh?
He does have a QSS.
Exactly, yeah,
actually,
he does.
Yeah.
He used that in the last fight because the sleep came down from Shady. I was thinking, oh no, maybe Aphelios will die. Oh, no, you got a cleanse, okay. Right.
Oh no! Anyway.
Exactly. And now building towards what looks like to be probably going to be an Infinity Edge third on that Aphelios too. And I mean, there's so many members of Nerve Rage which have just been doing their role so effectively. This Camille has not been the side lane threat, hasn't really needed to be though. I mean, this Skarner has been more than enough threat running between these lanes, and Lucendi haven't had a lot of answers towards Magikarp this game yet. They've not really managed to enable any of their skirmishes too in this Volibear and Aurelia, at least beyond that laning phase, to do much in this mid game.
And now Nerd Rage have moved into this 1-4 with Camille in the bottom side, and even with 4 members in the top side, and 5 members from Lucendi in this top side, there's nothing they can do to try and stave off this push. Baron buff is gone, they have Ocean Soul to heal up if they do any chip damage to them at all, and they're just waiting to die.
The thing is, right, if you don't catch the Aphelios, team fight goes pretty badly, but with the QSS, you can't just rely on the sleep, that's going to get cleansed, so you have to go for a big engage like this.
Here's the engage, Vanguard's Edge tags onto the Orianna. Is this the fight to end the game? Unstoppable kill there for Magikarp as they're looking to kill every single member of Lucendi. That is a full retreat being issued by the side of Lucendi as the Volibear will be destroyed. 3 members go down. They're gonna barrel down this mid lane. They're gonna finish it off. 15 kills to 3, 25 minutes into the game. They have an 11,000 gold lead. Not even one tower taken by Lucendi.
It's just the 3 kills from Lucendi in this game. Nerd Rage came into this 1 win down on their opponents for this match. Will now even them up for this split at 4-4.
That was a clinic being put on by Nerd Rage there. They made it look easy. They did win in the first round robin versus Lucendi with the backdoor.
Not in that fashion.
But not in that fashion. Not that convincingly.
Absolutely not. I was particularly impressed by, I guess, the Aphelios and Skarner picks working out so well because they do require some coordination, right?
Yeah.
Aphelios is not a champion which is very easy to like activate within a game, and I think that's why you had to remove stuff like the Seraphine and a couple of other picks which were really useful in so many of the compositions we've seen. I mean, heck, Demise have been playing a lot of the Seraphine just to stall out games, just to make sure that you can have that keep away factor. There was no keep away factor from Aphelios this game, nor from the Skarner, and they completely blew up this game. Really well played from Nerd Rage.
So well played, and that evens them out. Lucendi and Nerd Rage both sitting at 4-4, and I was expecting quite an even game considering how close they were in the standings and how close the first round robin match was. But I was not expecting it to be that convincing, that decisive of a game in favor of Nerd Rage. And I think going into the rest of this round robin, I think that they will be a contender. I think it took them a while to kind of come online, to be coordinated, to be the team that we kind of expected them to be coming into this split. And I think the other teams will need to be wary. They will need to look at Nerd Rage, kind of go, right, they are a contender for a top 4 spot.
But I mean, we saw on Thursday that you know, Lucendi had an absolute blowout performance in their own game, and they had a good laning phase for most of this game too, right? There were a couple of times where they ended up falling down, particularly that 2v2 death when Skarner got lanterned in. That's where the game started turning around. It's not lights out for Lucendi though. They're actually even in the standings. I mean, if I have to give a player of the game, it is going to go to here on the bot side for that Aphelios performance. I think that, particularly that team fight in the mid lane, was really immaculately played. The QSS, the Gale Force coming in with various Caliban props. But the laning phase was not a problem for Lucendi. I feel like they just got a little bit out-comped come about 20 minutes.
Yeah, it's kind of, they just came online all of a sudden. Once they reached that level 6 as well for the Skarner, where he was able to make tracks towards the middle lane, keep punishing the Aurelia, and then of course, he didn't have the QSS tax paid by any member of Lucendi, so you could do this freely. You had no way, there was no cleanse in any way, shape, or form, so you could just keep rinsing, repeating every time your flash was up, every time your impale was up, keep going for these flash impale plays, keep going for just the impale plays with the slow from the Skarner kit as well, and then you have slows and CC from the rest of your team.
In another game, you would have been MVP because that was a really good Skarner performance. But I don't know. I really appreciated I really appreciated the micro plays coming out of across a couple of those team fights. Look, you can share it if you really want, but if it has to be official, it's going towards the AD carry.
Honorary
Forgive me, please.
MVP, honorary MVP to Magikarp there, because it was. I'm proud of you, Magikarp. It was much better than the last.
Okay, you get Dara's MVP. Feel proud.
But together, so it doesn't really matter. Together, we're gonna say he for MVP. I think that's fair enough. So we're gonna go to a quick break before we bring you the final game of the day, the final game of the week. It is London United versus Viperio. Can we get another pentakill? Wait and see. Welcome back to the UKEL. We just saw a decisive win there, and we're going into our last game of the day. Will it be another decisive win? Will it be another close game? I was going to say something completely different there, but will it be a close game, Alex? We have London United versus Viperio, 3-4 for London United, and Viperio sitting at 4-3 in the standings. Another middle tier clash of teams. Both these teams have shown flashes of brilliance, but also they've shown a lot of mistakes that can be quite easily rectified, but also quite easily punished.
But there's something to be said about saying this is a mid-table clash, because for me, actually, the matches we've had between us two, and also all of these in this mid-pack, it's more about deciding who's actually the second best team in the UKEL, right? Who's actually being the team which is going to fall behind, fall into that second slot, which has been left behind Demise Academy, who've been so dominant in this first round robin. Of course, Hive just took a game off them and all this other stuff, right? I mean, we're looking at these other two teams now saying, you need to step up now that one of these teams has proven that this undefeated team can actually be beaten. And it has to start by showing you're a step above the rest of this pack.
You have to show not necessarily innovation, but you have to show that you are better in all aspects of the game, not just, oh, we just win lane phase and then, we just kind of fizzle out after that. Our drafting isn't very good, or our drafting is the best, but we don't have great team coordination. So you have to step up quite a lot, especially at the start of the second round robin, when you have to have your eyes cast towards playoffs, even at this sort of early stage or kind of mid stage.
You do now, actually, because the league has become so close. We don't have real clear-cut, like, top half of the table, top 2/3 of the table. This is going to be a split where singular games will absolutely determine placing, maybe determining playoff participation too, right? I mean, of course, Munster have struggled towards the bottom end of the table. They can still make a late surge to get into those playoff rankings. Each of these teams cannot afford to lose singular stupid games off of, mistakes in team fights, mistakes in laning phase, mistakes in the draft phase. It's going to get quite tense towards the last couple of weeks. You can already feel it building right now, and I'm hoping for a close game. I really am, because it means that we get to have a really good time on the caster desk.
I love close games. They're so tense, they're so exciting. Lots of action, and as a play-by-play, of course, I love it, and I know you love it as well, Nightmare, because it's just so fun to watch. What are we expecting from both these teams, though? Does it suit their playstyle to play kind of slow, methodical play towards that mid-game, where they reach that sort of power spike, which we have seen quite a lot of our teams kind of do throughout the regular season, or is it something that they're kind of more bloodthirsty, because we saw Viperio play a lot of Xayah Thresh in the bottom lane. They have Lilia as well in 4 of their 7 games, so they do default quite a lot to that particular jungle champion. But then on the other side, you have Graves, kind of a default for the jungler, and then you kind of have Thresh as well. So there's a lot of similarities there in sort of play styles, especially in that bottom lane.
There are, and I think that particularly Viperio are a team which have been much more about their philosophy going into a game in terms of this is what our team comp does, this is what we want to achieve, rather than trying to blow out the early game in the way that sometimes Nerd Rage have, Demise certainly have. They do seem to be, as you were kind of alluding to, more of the let's hit mid-game and team fight. And I think one of the things which is they've had to evolve that style a bit to tide them over in the early game, and make sure that they have stuff like, I mean, they struggled when they didn't have a front line, for instance, in week 1. When they went 0-2, they played a lot of Seraphine, which didn't really work out for them. But then they found actually Malphite's been working well for them. Maybe they can keep picking that. On the other side, for London, I mean, I think that the Heathen maybe taking away Haas's Thresh might be worthwhile for that too, because of course, well, I mean, it's not just Haas's Thresh, it's a free champion after all.
The Heathen Thresh as well.
And the Heathen Thresh is pretty damn good. I'm really looking forward to seeing what the mental fencing will be in this draft phase, because it will be a cut and thrust, and hopefully one of these teams will, I'm hoping that both these teams have playable drafts, because it'd be really nice to see, as you were saying, that even mid-game.
Yeah. Well, a lot of respect already being paid in the draft towards both these teams, actually, now, with the Malphite and the Lilia taken away, and then the Lulu Yone on the other side. These are kind of comfort picks that we have seen them default to in the past, and that's just a power pick of the Udyr.
It is. I think that you can't really well. I mean, Johnny has played the pick very, very well. Much like the Skada, Udyr can just disappear off the map after clearing so quickly, and then just appear someone just ruin your day.
Flash bear.
Senna was, of course, the champion with the pentakill on Thursday for Viperia. Kaz picking that one up, but this time it's going to go over to Kumkum, and that might allow London to now pick up the comp and say, we can sit back, we can scale, because Senna right now is really good at just sitting on the back line and not really being affected by most of the stuff which is happening in the front line, and just scaling into infinity.
Yeah, if you get all of those stacks of your passive, just attack from half
So
the
many
map
souls.
away. So many souls in the back pocket. It looks like they're going to lock in the Thresh here for the Xayah, and it's exactly what I said coming into this draft. Xayah, Thresh is exactly what they like to play in that bottom lane. A lot of comfort for Kaz, a lot of comfort for Haas.
But the thing for me is that I look at Senna and Xayah, and I'm going to start wondering when teams are going to move back to stuff like Jarvan Orianna, Jarvan Rumble, Nocturne, which just can
Galio.
get right on top of Galio as well, stuff like that. Stuff which can get right into the backline and say, the issue is now forced, play your hand. You have to flash out, and most of the time now, then you look at the Xayah, the ult's on cooldown, the flash's on cooldown, stuff like that. Because I mean, we've been seeing in the LPL a lot of Rumble mid coming out. You got Night Harvest, you just drop the red carpet on top of one of the AD carries, and they don't get to teamfight anymore. I'd really like to see a couple of these UKEL teams picking up that style of play, because we've seen how strong stuff like the Graves and Senna and Xayah can be in that backline.
And it gives a nice injection of AP into your team comp as well,
Yeah.
and also works towards the team fighting. And he also has quite the decent laning phase too, so it's not exactly a bad pick. And
Absolutely.
we used to see it in the jungle
It's
top
one pick
lane
amongst
as well.
many.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
It's one pick amongst many, but it's definitely one thing which can work. I mean, with London now picking up Leona, they do have the start of that engaged. The question is, what are they going to do for their solo laners? They do have the ability to sort of hopefully counterpick one of them. Viperia going with the Hecarim also have some backline access now. The question is, of course, what are they going to do to make sure that these carries don't just have a very cushy team fight?
Now Hecarim gets locked in for Johnny Rico. As a response to the Graves, he does have quite the decent early game, but Graves will start to scale, will outscale the Hecarim. I play a lot of League with the Hecarim one trick, and he kind of falls off in that mid game, or maybe that's just him, I don't know. But the further bans coming out will be the Seraphine and
Nice
the
shade.
Nivea, targeting towards this middle lane, as well as the the support position. So we have seen Seraphine, at least on a global scale, we have seen her in the middle lane as well as in support.
Yeah, we have. I think Seraphine has been buffed to the point now where she's generically quite good in mid-bot and support. Her numbers are maybe a little too high for my liking, because when you do have a good matchup, you just run it over now. It's not just a good matchup, it's a crush matchup. If you're playing something like a Galio into something like that, they don't really get to play laning phase at all.
No.
You just poke them out for forever. With the Orianna coming out as well, it seems like London really just didn't want to allow the primary control mages going over there. But Killikin does play a lot of Victor, and it is going to be locked in, which does have a good ability to kill frontline champions if they want to say, look, you have a Senna, but we have a Xayah Victor. They scale very, very well. If you're picking tanks, if you want to go into a front-to-back team fight, we'll win that on the DPS.
And it's the Victor that we have seen quite a lot of throughout the regular season. Victor is a pick that we have seen rise in priority,
Well, that'll be
especially when
fun.
he needs to
Yes.
provide AP and team fight capability. Nico gets locked in. We have to talk about the Nico. Nico, I haven't seen a Nico in so long.
So Nico is that's also a champion which is currently enabled. I mean, technically,
no.
this could be a flex between mid and top between both the Nico and the Viego if they lock both in, having the ability to switch around for the matchups that they think are better. So the thing about Nico is that Horizon Focus is just a very, very strong item on this champion, because your ultimate stuns and then does damage, meaning that your ult, which already does significant damage and scales ridiculously well with AP, gets to build 115 AP item with the Horizon Focus and get the extra 10% damage amp because it also stuns them too. You nuke team fights with that ult.
It is actually insane in an item. I don't really see a lot of people picking the Nico, so I am excited to see Nico just diving into a team fight using that ultimate, and Nara gets locked in as well into the Cho'Gath. This is it's almost like a throwback game here.
Yeah, a little bit. I haven't seen that top lane matchup for a little while now. Probably back to like season, I don't know, 7, 8, I guess, when we last started seeing
That's when
that
Naraka
one.
was meta.
I'm really happy to see this Nico though, because now we have Cho'Gath, Nico, Sana, Leona, even a smoke screen can add into this, where if you step out of position as Viperio, You get nuked. Someone just immediately dies. If it's the Hecarim, if you don't get to ult away in time, things go very badly. And the thing about Cho'Gath is actually, I mean, so I know we were talking about, there are a great many champions which can affect the backline and kind of have that backline access. A single Cho'Gath rupture can force out a Flash or a Xayah ultimate and turn the tide of a team fight. Victorio, surprisingly, I guess, on a tank champion, has the unique ability to threaten these backline carries compared to the rest of his team.
And you also get greater objective control as well with that feast. And then he has infinite scaling with that feast as well for extra health scaling. And unless you build percentage health damage, maybe in that Blade of the Rune King for the Gnar or even the Xayah.
Well, you have it on your W anyway, right? So you have some anti-tank potential.
But you still have the infinite scaling. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, there's that. I mean, there have been Divine Sunder Gnar builds, which gives you that Spellblade proc, like the Sheen proc. But more often than not, we've seen Stride Breaker instead. It just allows you to run down tanks and just say, okay, if you don't have a tower, you can't push up in a long lane, which means you are then forced by process of elimination just to hold at your tower, and that gives the Gnar the ability to have the run of one side of the map, push in and force them out of the lane, and then go approach team fights from a different direction. I look at both these team comps, and I'm actually wondering which team particularly wants flanks. I guess it has to be this Neeko. If Neeko gets a flank onto the backline, things go really bad real quick for Viperio. So again, I think for Viperio, was something which they struggled with in the first couple of weeks, again, was how do they clear vision appropriately and put down vision of their own to scout out these flanks so they don't have that happen to them. Because if Victor or Xayah dies early into a team fight, that's pretty much team fight over. I think they actually need both of them alive really to cut through the stuff like the Cho'Gath.
Yeah, it will be quite a difficult fight to kind of execute from the side of Viperio. It seems a little bit easier, at least on paper, for London United. But how is this early game going to be going? Where are we expecting these junglers to be putting their early priority?
That's a good question. Can pretty much go across the board because, I mean, so Neeko actually has mid lane gank setup in a way that a lot of mid lane champions don't have. Victor is susceptible to that. If you get hit through the wave with that route from Neeko, Graves can absolutely come in and force a flash, force a kill. Whereas on the other side, if Neeko pushes up too aggressively, well, Hecarim's not the best at really going into mid lane, so I think that London have the advantage of looking into mid lane. Hecarim with the Gnar probably have the advantage onto the Cho'Gath, though, because Cho'Gath will struggle to get away from the knockback from the Hecarim and then have Gnar running them down too. And bot lane is a bit of a wash. So actually, I think junglers have options all the way across the map. Often we've seen a bit of a top lane island when it comes to the UKEL. We don't see too much pressure there. Of course, last game we saw a bit of a change away from that when we saw the gank going topside. I think we're looking towards... London might look towards mid, whereas I think Viper are probably post-6 looking bot.
Okay, so... Hecarim, post 6, going bot lane, and Graves working his way towards mid lane, trying to burn the flash out of the Victor. So that's what we know, or what we're kind of expecting going into this game now. But just off of the team compositions, who do you think is the easiest to execute, and who do you think will get the win in this final game?
I think as a group of 5, London's is harder to do on paper, but then you look at Viperio and you think, oh yeah, okay, well, you know, you just have a front to back and you have Victor and Xayah doing things, and then just a Cho'Gath Q hits and that plan completely falls apart. I think actually in this game, London have a slight draft advantage, and I think that it's going to come down a lot to the vision game to deny Neeko into these team fights, really.
I'm curious as to what the chat predictions is going into this game. We haven't been told as of yet.
I could really have Twitch. See, the problem is, like, I could go check, but then that also means I have to have Twitch open. And sometimes that's very bad for my...
90% to Viperio. Ooh. Wow.
Jeez.
The faithful, the Viperio faithful out in force.
Alright, who's been dumping the channel points in there? Who's put 20,000? No. No, I mean, I think that, I mean, coming off of Thursday, coming off of the last couple of weeks, I mean, the only game which Viperio have lost in the last, well, since week 1, has been versus Dubai Academy. Yeah, like, that's definitely something to say, right? Like, their strength of schedule, I mean, they face every team right now. This is coming into the second round robin. They've done really well since week 1. You have to give them props for that. If you take away that first week performance, they're a solid second. In fact, actually now with Demise losing their one game too, they're actually tied first if they win this game, if you discount the first week results, which is crazy to think after all the narratives coming into this split.
If you discount some of the results.
If you discount, oh yeah, just if you get rid of the bad results, that makes them look better. That's how it works. No, it is just worth saying though. If you're tracking current form and how these teams are improving, or unfortunately not improving, actually Viper are towards the top end of that. The question is, does that, of course, lead to game wins in the second round robin? They've not always looked the most confident. They've had some shaky wins. Heck, even that game on Thursday was not the most confident thing. But then I guess we're still looking across at the entire league now to say, okay, what's going to happen in the second round robin? You get to face these teams again. What's going to happen?
And we have to give a bit of credit to the benefit of having comfort for your players. This is the 4th time for both Mawa, Kaz, and Haas to be playing their particular champion. This is the 4th time playing Graves, 4th time playing Xayah and Thresh. So they are comfortable on these champions in a competitive setting. So we're expecting good things from all 3 of these players at least. And yes, you don't have as much comfort from the rest of the players, but you still have 3 games on Senna for Kumikun.
We do, so there's a lot of comfort, and I guess when it comes to when you have these objective dances, comfort is going to be so important, knowing that you know how to play these champions mechanically, and you know how to play them whilst communicating with your team, just saying, I know when this ability is up. 2 seconds till Gravity Field, 1 second till Blade Call or something like that. It can be so important because if it means that a lot of that extra attention that you might have to pay towards playing mechanically can go towards your decision making and your positioning instead, which can be so important. And when, as we were saying, a single skill shot, a single root from Nico, a single Q from Shogun, and the same can be said for, you know, a hook or a blade caller or a laser even from Victor in late game, can change the theme and how the story is going to go around these team fights.
Yeah, it can change a team fight, it can gain you an objective, it can gain you a tower, it can gain you a win in this game.
Good hook.
Good hook. Forces the heal and the flash out of Kumikun. Gets a little bit of chip damage down as well.
So, the comfort on both of these players, 4 games for the Thresh on Haas, 3 for Kumikun. I guess in that trade goes the way of Haas. That's a hook landing onto that scaling champion, that Senna, who now will probably be forced off a bit of farm towards that bot side, because, I mean, I'm actually not sure what's going to happen in that 2v2. Looks like Kaz and Haas were happy to back off just to make sure that Mao wasn't planning anything and that there wasn't going to be a revenge gank for blowing those summoners. And the question is now, okay, right, so you've got the Senna without summoners. How do Viperio leverage that? How do London United maybe use that as a bait on the bot side?
Can you bait it in when your jungler isn't around?
The mental gymnastics are truly strong with this game. While you say that, well, one of them is. It's just not London's one, which is the important thing for them. Managed to get a bit more. I mean, I love how Haas is using the brush control in that 2v2. I mean, so I moonlight as an AD carry. I'm typically a main mid player, but when it comes down to like the worst laning experiences I have had in bot lane is when I know that there's a support sat in that damn brush. I can't do anything about it.
But you can establish some vision, and they actually managed to put down a couple of wards there that weren't managed to be cleared away by Haas. And Jericho is spending a lot of time in this bottom lane. Out comes the Lantern, the Flash Flay. It is good, and Kumikun should be going down with the Blade Caller. Pulls it back and takes him down.
That's really important. Cannon Wave now lost for Kumikun under that turret unless he then manages to keep it away from tower. First blood over to the Xayah. In fact, actually, I'm not sure. Yeah, I think with the Home Guard, some of that wave will be picked up by Kumikun, but it's already down CS. But that's another fly under tower. Ouch!
Yeah, goes in with the Zenith Blade, but he has to flash immediately out. The Ignite gets the kill onto Haas. Can they kill off Mawa, though? Doesn't have the E and doesn't have the positioning of the blades, but will lose their support.
But Kaz actually ends up flashing forward, failing the last auto onto Heathen. So 1-for-1 kill goes over to that Leona, so I guess it's not the worst person ever to do that. Actually, I guess with all things said and done, the only thing notable about that one is getting away from the summoners out of the Xayah. That's the one big thing, because it's not like you've given anything over to the Senna. That's a big trade in mid now.
Yeah, almost getting the kill, but the Thresh is there to help him out with the Thresh Express to safety. Has to be mentioned, as we're 5 minutes into the game, just a little bit of gold lead in favor of Viperio, just about 500 or 600 gold. There it is, a Cloud Drake. That's the first Drake of the game, so it will be a Mountain,
for a second.
Infernal, or
Go
Ocean Soul.
really confused. He said, Haas, do you mention? Like, what about Thresh? What about Haas? What about them? And then I realized you were doing something completely different. It didn't matter at all.
No, I'm just giving the state of the game, just a general overview. Yep, we'll get the chains down, but
Good
beautiful
hook.
prediction on the hook. In comes the Flay. Kumakum should be going down. One more auto attack, but can they get out with their lives? No flash available for either of them. They're going towards the enemy tower. In comes the teleport now as Mawa. He's going to aggress onto Haas. The Flay comes through. The teleport gets cancelled. Kaz, he's going to go down here. The Thresh sure to follow as the shutdown goes over to Mawa. One more auto attack to finish him off. The Flay. Oh, he's through the minion wave, but he's gonna go down. Double kill for the Graves as the top lane Cho'Gath gets finished off.
Okay. So actually, no, maybe the second most annoying thing in the worst laning phase experiences I've had in bot lane is when you think you're doing really well, and you trade it really aggressively, you get a kill, and then you just haven't paid attention to the rest of the map, and things go pretty badly wrong from that point. So this time, things go much better for London on the bot side. 2 kills to a Graves, you can certainly work around that, because now we're talking about, okay, Nico almost getting kills into Killican in the mid lane. If you have an early Mythic, or of course a Gale Force or something like that coming out of Mauer, you can finish off kills onto this Victor super well. The next fight's in bot lane. You might be able to assassinate the Zyra, and we were talking about when it comes to team fights, if those carries go down for Vipero, things get very difficult for him. With Graves now coming up into an early lead, that's very important because he can be a prime component of killing those carries.
It definitely can, and we've seen how much damage a Graves can pump out in these team fights. And when you're 2-0 up, you're not quite a level up on your lane opponent, but this is the time for Hecarim to be making tracks. He needs to be making this early game work for himself and his team, and when he hasn't any objective control, when he's 1-0-1, that's doing okay, but you're still behind on the Graves.
Yeah, but we did see, I mean, the big point of that was, okay, Victoria managed to cancel a teleport. It cost them their life in the top side. I think trading 1 kill onto a Hecarim with 2 onto the Graves, I guess all things said and done, and maybe denying some farm and a good reset away from the Zyra, that's still probably worth for London, all things said and done. Plus, Victoria does have to bonus teleport to get back up towards the top side, but with the bot side focus, London get themselves a dragon as well. It's relatively even in the early game, all things said and done. Gold on the Graves as compared to the goals in the center. The question really is how are the souls and going to come across for Kumakum, because they're going to have less access to the wave with this lack of pressure they've had in the early game.
And it's surprisingly even, I think, at this point.
Yeah. No, I'd agree with that. I mean, would I have liked it to be even? Yes. Would I have predicted to be even in this sense? No, not really, because it's quite hard to plan where the action is going to happen so it actually comes out in somewhat of an even trade. I like what Haas is doing once again here, because the thing about hook champs is it happens with your Blitzcrank and Nautilus. Sometimes the threat of the hook is actually better than throwing the hook itself. If you have technically a clear line of sight towards your enemy champion, you don't actually have to throw that thing out. It can just be good to have it come back. Now we have a level 7 Johnny Rico just hanging around bot side and go over a pink ward if he goes through the tri-brush, but ultimate is available.
Just waiting to push in with this wave. We'll manage to pick off some of these tower plates and force away the bottom lane of London United. They cannot step up here. They know that they will be tower dived, or there's the potential to be tower dived at least, as the flash is just about to come back up for the Xayah. Full summoners available for Haas and Johnny Rico. So that is a nice injection of gold into the pocket of Haas and Kaz there. Xayah goes through, looking for to try and continue this engage as the chains goes down. Locks onto one, but look at that hook. It is heat seeking every time they pick off Kumikum underneath the tower. 0-3-1.
So there's a Herald rotation from London. Okay, cool, but Herald doesn't actually give you gold in the moment. It's kind of that promise of gold later if you use the turret plates well across the map to allow the Herald to get you that injection of gold. So what actually ends up happening is it's going to be plates down, it's going to be kills down. Kaz now has to try and disengage, and they do successfully. And at the end of this, it's, I guess, Mao are going to be getting the bonus once again because they will get some of the plates from the Herald whenever it is used. And Kumakum suffering once more.
And it's just looking so dire for London United here. You have the injection of gold onto the Graves 2-0-1. He's slightly up on CS over his role opponent. But then you have this kind of damage and gold trough in this bottom lane. Kumakum down by almost half the CS of Kaz here. He's down by 3 kills, and he only has 1 assist to his name, yes, you're going to get a decent amount of gold here from
this does actually help. You're going to get, what, 4 plates total from this, I suppose, coming out of it? Yes, that is going to be that. So that's going to be a decent amount of gold, at least kind of salvage for the center, who was falling pretty far behind. It doesn't help with the souls. Gold doesn't unfortunately buy you souls. I mean, think about that next time you make a deal with the devil and try and sell that. I guess that's what I was going for. But now the center is at least getting somewhat more relevant and hopefully going to build up that Kraken Slayer soon. And look, I'm just trying to figure out what the gold value of actually what a soul is, you know, like just in case I find myself in dire straits later in life.
Like if you have 10 souls, then they're worth a lot less than if you have only 1.
So you're saying that it's about market availability of souls. Good,
yes.
Good to know about the economics of occult stuff.
I assumed so. Unless, like, various souls have greater value, like maybe a celebrity's soul has greater value.
Look, I am not nearly brave enough to delve into deep philosophy on the UKEL stream, Zara. Might need to seek some assistance from someone a little bit more academically book smart than me.
Importantly, next Drake is up in 6 seconds. Both junglers.
Are all souls equal? No, dragon souls are worth a little bit more.
Just a little bit. Another heat-seeking hook, but they don't go for the engage there. Has the flash available if he needs to use it. Looks like he will in the next couple of seconds. Good trigger discipline there. He doesn't have to use it to get away.
But at the grand cost of all this is 2 ultimates now down for London United as they want to go towards this dragon. And they do have the numbers available. Killikin's managed to be alone in the mid lane, going to get a plate for that. Might roam down. I wonder if Viperia say, we're okay to give this up though. We don't really care right now. Let's just keep getting gold. Keep getting this Victor into the game because he's got 100 CS. A number of them will be cannon minions. So he'll have his first upgrade, have some wave priority. But looking at how the vision stood, I'm pretty sure Viperia are happy to give that one up. It's an Ocean Rift and they've given 2 dragons over. That is a little bit of a worry, but I do think they'll be happy with the team fights later into the game still, as far as the game's progressing right now.
I think that they could have committed there, because Victoria wasn't in lane and couldn't stop the teleport channel from the Gnar. So if they did want to engage there, they could have had the roam from, or the move down from Killikin from the mid lane as well, make it a 5v4. But as you said, they decided to give it up. They just want to get the next 4 Ocean Drakes, get that Ocean Soul for themselves.
That's the one. That's always been the plan all along. And turns out we have found the counter to the heat-seeking hooks is to have those stone-cold dodges. And even dodges one on the bot side. But these are, it's always scary when you see that hook fly out and you're like, oh my gosh, the next feather recall coming through is probably going to claim someone's life. Yeah. But I mean, Viperia have played very aggressive around this bot side. London United know that, and they have punished them several times. There are still 3 deaths in their bot side too. Heathen walking up is enough to get some. Oh, that's a good combo.
Flare, beautiful chaining of the CC as he gets the flash and the ultimate out as the railgun comes through. Isn't it enough to finish him off as it did go a little bit wide. Good dodge there from Kaz. But in comes the teleport from Articuno now. He's looking for it to push them away from this tower. And they will manage to pick this off with this wave.
I wonder why the Cleanse Lantern didn't come out of Kaz. He has to flash, has to ult. Those are 2 really big cooldowns where you think maybe just using that Cleanse would have solved things. So now with those 2 abilities no longer available to Kaz, that's quite dangerous now for Viperia's bot lane. Flash hook in the mid lane.
It's onto the right one as well. Has. Whew. He is on form.
So not everyone can be Sub-Zero to dodge those hooks. That was completely out of nowhere. Flash forward, and another one lands.
I told you, it is heat-seeking. Mawa has to flash to try and get away. He's burning down. The slow comes through
flash death,
from
right?
the smoke grenade. Oh.
Yeah. I don't blame that ultimate, because Flash was there on Killikin. There was a chance that does end up hitting. It's going to be another hook in a row for Haas. Just, okay, pulling up Viperio by their bootstraps, getting something from nothing, and that might actually end up leading to the mid lane outer turret going down. That's an important swing in this game.
Such an important objective taken down. It cracks open the map. It is 1 tower to 1. You have about a 2,500 gold lead in favor of Viperia at this point. 2.5 minutes until the next Drake spawns. Items starting to come online as we hit that 15-minute mark. You have the Gale Force, you have Leandri's finished for Killikin, and you have that Divine Sunderer for Johnny Rico. Then on the other side, as you said, you have that Frost for Articuno, you have the Kraken Slayer for Senna, and then you also have an item completed on your jungler and your top laner.
Yeah, of course, there's the Everfrost coming out of Nico. Remember that Everfrost now gives 15 AP per legendary item completed after the first. I believe that's the correct mythic stat, which means that when you do go towards, you know, your second or third item, when your ult hits, because it has such a high AP ratio, it just ends team fights, right? If you get the Horizon Focus, I'm a big fan of that item onto Nico as well. It has a really high amount of AP. It's pretty expensive. That's the one downside of it. But between that and the Everfrost, you just get a huge amount of burst damage. And I'm wondering when Articuno is really going to start coming online in this game, because it'll be fun to watch.
He's just biding his time. He's just waiting for it to take down this Rift Herald, and we'll be able to crack open the middle lane if they want to use it there. They already got the tower in the bottom lane. It's yet to get the outer tower in the top and the mid. But if we look down towards this bottom side, Nico is going to get the recall off as they go for an invade into the bot side jungle, looking to try and pick someone off if they are crazy enough to push forward without the vision.
This is the bonus of taking their mid lane out of turret. You're more free to go into those jungle sides and look for picks, right? It's the Scooby-Doo philosophy: split up and look for kills. That's how that show went, right? That they're all trying to like do horrible things. That's how I remember it. But if you take down that mid lane out of turret, it gives you so much more ability to play around the enemy jungle. So having now the Nico move out in side lanes, it does help London United. Good wave clear on that champion, and you can hold mid lane with the Leona Senna relatively well enough. I'm just wondering what's going to happen now when you've got the next dragon spawning, which Viper probably are going to look to fight towards this time.
Victorio has backed with the recall, empowered by that Rift Herald. He has the teleport available if he wants the TP in, try and contest this Drake take. His Death Ray goes out onto the Heathen. Just a little bit of chip damage. Another hook hits. He's down to half health already as he's pulled over the wall. The Xenoblade will not hit onto anyone. Teleport being channeled, but the Cho'Gath is already in there. The Gnar, he needs to do something. He doesn't have his Gnar bar filled. Killikin picks up the first kill to fight as Kumakum picks off someone else. It's a kill for a kill so far in this team fight as the Gnar has to be forced away. Look at the health bars on the side of London United. They are so high. Will get stopped in his tracks as Articuno and team have to back away.
So now we don't really have that many ultimates. Importantly, Cho'Gath's is if Victoria wants to use that to secure this objective. That's of course the king prize here, but Mega Gnar on the other side is also still around.
Waiting for the Gnar bar to be filled. That's two against the wall. Kaz picks one off as Mawa. That's the jungler. He is dead. Articuno tried to get away, but the Death Ray in the back of the head will finish him off. That is the delayed ace and the team fight win and the Drake.
The Viper get everything. They get absolutely everything they want. They get kill participation onto their Victor, who's probably got all 3 upgrades now from that fight. They get gold onto their Xayah. Both their carries, both online. They get the Dragon. There's no soul point for London United. And they get, of course, pretty much everyone involved in that fight. No one's been left out to dry. They have run of the map. Now they can just go back to their side lanes, which they were succeeding in beforehand. I mean, with Infor pushing in top lane relatively well, and Viper playing around the enemy jungle. They're very comfortable with the state of the game now.
Very comfortable with the state of the game. They have 3,500 gold lead, finishing off some more of their items. Stride Breaker now for the Gnar, fully completed. Locket of the Iron Solari finished for the Thresh and for the Leona. We have to give our props to London United as well. 4 minutes until the next Drake. Have to feel they'll be fighting around this objective as well. Top lane tower did fall. Bot lane surely to follow if they do send someone down to push one more wave.
I do think that, but that team fight was so interesting. Honestly, that's the kind of team fight I'd love to VOD review. If any of these teams sit down, that's probably the fight you look at and say, okay, how were our skills used in the micro sense of things? Because it felt like it was just very close a number of things. There was a gravity field which ended up catching multiple people. Nico had a good amount of zone control too, so you got both these mid laners looking to catch out the enemy team in the same way. But Infor was the real MVP for me in that fight, who ended up somehow entering without a Narbar, and with the secondary engage coming out from the side division, forcing out Articuno from the fight too, with a really good use of the Stride Breaker and a number of abilities, and then somehow getting onto the backline. So the question is, can London United deny the Mega Gnar in the next fight? Because it seemed like they had a pretty good start in the first place.
Gravity field goes down, out comes the Pop Blossom. Can he do enough damage to survive this? The answer is an emphatic no. The railgun from Kumakum will not be enough to save the tower either. They're gonna barrel down this bottom lane. Looking forward to maybe pick off the Gnar in the top lane now for the side of London United as Leona pops over the wall. We'll manage to get away.
I think when you don't have the Senna with you, you're unlikely to kill this Gnar in a side lane. I mean, you've got a Mercury Treads too, and when Leona and Cho'Gath going towards that, mostly AP and trying to bring out the CC so other people can really, I mean, has just lockets and a brush, I guess, a certain dominance. But on that top side, I look at this Gnar and I'm thinking, how do you actually shut this guy down in the side lane now? Do you just need Mauer there alongside, like, maybe one or two other people? Is that the only way you kill this Gnar?
I think so. I think he's a little bit too slippery, even with his flash not available. I think he just needs to hop, skip, and jump his way away.
And he's got the Stride Breaker. Stride Breaker, of course, has a short dash on it too, and can slow people down if they are within that little kind of Tiamat radius. So I think In4 is very happy with where he's at in the game. The question is, though, London United, because we talked about, okay, Viperio did well in that last team fight, got everything they wanted out of that Drake fight. Well, what do London do now to get themselves a little bit more control in this game? I think it does have to be off the back of Mauer, because I look at Kaz, look at Killikin, this is where you really want to get this burst damage down. He's trying to catch Kaz.
Yep. Xayah had to use her ultimate to try and get away, and it's just an exchange of ultimates between Kaz and the Heathen. A minute and a half until the next Drake spawns. Baron is, of course, live as we are 22 minutes into the game. Both these teams looking to pull the trigger, but you have so many tools to disengage and to kind of stifle any play being made by the enemy team that it just isn't hitting the mark at this point. And
oh, good
I
root.
say that a beautiful root onto Kumakum gets him down to half health, forces him away.
First off, I like how I was like, wow, looking for a pick onto Kaz, which is kind of halfway between Kaz and Hass's. Both were being caught at the same time, and I was trying to say both of them. But they get out with using the Zyrol, which is important because it of course, is a very long cooldown ultimate. And I mean, there have been great many pro players throughout history who say, yeah, Leona's really good into Xayah. It doesn't matter about the lane match or anything, because when it comes to mid game, if I can just throw out the Solar Flare and get that Xayah ultimate out, look, the Solar Flare pretty much off cooldown already. Only halfway there for Kaz. When we come up to this dragon, if similar things happen and you don't have that Zyrol up, Kaz is going to have a much harder time of playing that team fight.
Yeah, definitely going to be much, much harder, and that's the player you want to be going on to. That is the champion that you want to be focusing hard. And Kaz is seeing this kind of half invade here from Mawa and the Heathen. He just sticks around where he is and just make sure that nothing is going to happen to his AD carry.
He's just trying to use sonar to like get blind hooks out of vision. Just like, hang on, quick. Be very quiet. Let's see if I can land a hook. Doesn't end up landing it there, and we do have a 5v5 brewing in the bot side river. Mega Gnar's coming out.
Yeah, he's doing a decent amount of damage with his W as well. Mega Gnar just about to pop. He needs to get it onto more than one member. He jumps forward. Well, hops forward, I guess. He didn't use his jump just yet. Curse of the Black Mist will obscure the lineup of London United as this Drake is already gone. They haven't even contested it at all. They might be able to go for a team fight win here as well as the railgun comes through just for the shielding, just for a little bit of damage. Throws out the lantern. Doesn't manage to actually take it. Not really necessary to do so. London United just watch as Viperio take their second Drake.
They're hoping, and again, it's one of these times where both of these teams are staring down and hoping the other blinks first. Mauer now trying to catch someone out. Viperio bursted down that dragon while In4 was playing goalkeeper with the last of the Mega Gnar bar. Didn't get the initial engage, but then I think it was good restraint to say, okay, well, we don't need to force the engage, we can get the objective. Now it's 2 for 2 in Dragons, London United's early objective game, not really having led to anything later on. And I have to say, Viperio, I think they chose the right option there, the right angle of attack to say, okay, well, let's just finish the objective. We don't need to force anything here.
And London United have lost yet another tower. That's the third tower of the game in favor of Viperio. So they've lost even more off of the back of that failed play, or would we even call it a play? Because nothing really happened. It was more aggressively posturing and hoping that someone else engages to make a mistake.
I think that London were just hoping for a mistake. Hoping that an over-engage came in. Hoping that maybe they didn't finish it before the Mega Gnar came out. It was really close, actually, on that front. But the engage, well, I mean, the mistake doesn't happen. They end up waiting for very little. And now, of course, like you're saying, they kind of, once again, for the second drag in a row, come out worse for wear and don't really get much out of that situation. As you're saying, losing across the map, they're now, what, verging on 5,000, well, exactly 5,000 gold. Yep. in the deficit, and you're playing against, even though you have yourself, the Senna, who scales really well, has 2 items, is almost flame horizoned by Kaz on the Zyre, and this Victor is no slouch in the item department either, having that stopwatch, and of course the Seraph's building up slowly but surely.
No matter how many souls you have for the Senna, that will not make up the difference of a Flame Horizon. It just will not. We're at 45 souls. That is 2 stacks of the passive.
You really need to be at about 80 to be at the point where you're seriously threatening Viperia. That's at the point where the Mega Gnar and this Hecarim are going to struggle to reach you if they're trying to go for a multi-man engage. Senna can sit just that extra further back, go back, and then start trying to cut through that front line, which is not the tankiest in the world, because they're kind of like off tank, right? They end up having these brawler items which then do a bit of tank work too. It's not like you've got that Frostfire Gauntlet from the side of Victorio's Cho'Gath or something like that. You don't get to buy as much time, but when you're sat at about half the number you need, I don't know if this game is going to go on long enough at this point for this Senna to be that teamfight threat that London needs them to be, which means that we are waiting for some godlike wombo engage from collateral damage and the Gale Force coming in from the Graves on top of Ruptures, and of course the Nico Burst will be key to that.
And you're hoping, you're praying that Cho'Gath can get a nice feast onto Kaz, just pick him off, or Killikin maybe as well, just pick off the main damage dealers from the side of Viperio, and you have to flash for that usually unless they engage onto you, but you're not expecting them to engage onto a Cho'Gath. It's going to go onto Kumikum, it's going to go onto Mawa, it's going to go onto Articuno as well. They know their targets, and their target acquisition, especially with Haas and Johnny Rico with his ultimate, are so on point.
But I mean, of course Viperia have been winning somewhat around these dragon fights. It's not really been in cascading form though. It's been in drips and drabs. I'm just wondering that, yes, okay, Killikin looking lovely in that brush right there. Thank you, Observer. I mean, I'm looking at Viperia and thinking, well, what actually breaks this game for them though? Because of course they've been winning the objectives, and that's good. They're getting dragons, and they're stopping the soul coming through. What actually breaks this game? Is it going to be a Baron dance? Because they haven't set up for that yet. Is it going to be random picks again? Because actually they're not the most consistent thing to play around. Playing around this though is a lot of damage.
You can't step forward like that. He blows his heel. That can be crucial in the upcoming Dragon Dance, the upcoming team fight that is sure to follow around this objective spawning.
I mean, at least you get the Gale Force out, and Senna is going to be full health because of the Qs coming through. Not having the heal out, you're absolutely right. It's that extra effective HP that can come through, I guess, in this fight, which won't be available. They won't have the extra HP bar available for that Senna, and we know how important this damage is to this team, which has been lacking that on the frontline members of Viperia.
London United trying to play around this void of vision. They're waiting in that brush. They're all stacked up. A good Rupture could spell the start of a team fight, but in they go. Articuno gets a perfect ult onto 3, but doesn't do nearly enough damage as the Gnar knocks onto 2. Out comes the Solar Flare. Kaz is just out of this fight. Can London United actually win it? Victorio buying so much time, but Haas takes him out. That's a flash forward. Killikin just buys time, going golden. He gets the Thresh Express to safety. 1 goes down. It is a team fight, kind of equalization, almost a win for Viperio. Who will pick up this Drake, though? It looks like it's going in favor of London United. It does get picked off in favor of them. The gravity field is beautiful. That's the shutdown from Johnny Rico, but he gets a kill back of his own. Double kill now for the Graves as Cass comes back into the team fight. Kumikum finally doing some damage. Now trying to chase him down. Articuno from the side.
Oh, what an absolute mess of a fight. Are they going to get out of this alive? They're trying to turn it with the Senna, but Kaz is also here. Doesn't have the Gale Force this time, though.
Articuno, oh, he didn't get hit with the brick house, and M4 is just done for. Victorio looking for the home guards.
Oh, but this means Kaz is just dead.
Rupture up. He doesn't. Yeah, feast.
Is just dead. What a messy fight from both of these teams. London find an opportunity to get themselves some vision in that bot side river, and while Viperia play out the first part of that fight pretty okay, Kaz gets caught, gets hit bombs by one stray skill shot, has to blow the ult, flashes out, and doesn't end up having the DPS for the rest of the fight. It gets close after that point because of the gold lead for Viperio. At least there's no feast now for this Baron start, but playing this without an AD carry is dangerous for Viperio. This could be the turning point for London.
Johnny Rico has Smite, he has his ultimate, he is a level up on Mawa, the dream is still alive. If you are a Viperio fan, the hook connects, the knockup comes through as well. 2,000 health on the Baron, can he steal it away? That's an early Smite, and it gets taken away by the blue team, by London United. The railgun through the entire team fight. Johnny Rico gets taken down, but can they get the team fight when the Gnar is just so tanky at this point? Flash forward, gets the hook. Killigan
who's gonna live after
to
this?
chase them down. That's 2 for 3, but the Baron goes in favor of London United.
I mean, Heathen is running. It looks like actually it's going to be 4 kills away from London. So what's going to happen at the end of this? They'll only have the single Baron buff on Mauer. They get, I guess, another Feast stack onto Victoria. I think that ended up going on to killing In4 at the end of things. They're losing themselves a turret. The Baron power play, not going to be massively high, but they have managed to get themselves back into this game. There are no objectives for Viperio now to play around to try and put their foot on the accelerator after this whole messy phase of play. And we're back, more even than we thought we would have been about 3 or 4 minutes ago.
And it puts so much onus on this next Drake. It will put an Ocean Soul in the pocket of London United if they get it. It will bring Viperio that little bit closer to being able to win this game if they manage to get their 3rd Drake. It gives them 3 Ocean Drakes then. And these team fights are so scrappy, so divided, so close. We have no idea going into them who is actually going to win. It's just slight missteps from either side.
And because there is no real easy way to secure a lot of these objectives, that has led to, as production has pointed out on the side, the latest first Baron of the split at 30 minutes and 44 seconds. Neither of these teams have found it easy to move over there because it's just so hard to get those actual sizable victories in team fights to open up the map enough to start them.
You're starting to get even more powerful on the side of London United as well. 3 items for the Senna. She has 60 stacks.
Yeah,
so
Senna's relevant now.
Stacks of the passive. Baron Empowered Wave to help the siege in this middle lane. Articuno off to the side, lurking around the Baron pit. Might go towards the top lane just to escort the minions in. Out comes the Solar Flare, tags onto Haas. He gets the Flay knocked back from the Heathen, but Johnny Rico, he's in. Sorry, that's In4 going in. He has the Mega Gnar against the wall, but he only gets one. It is Victorio. He gets minced. Killikin picks him off.
Okay, so actually, Cho'Gath was not tanky enough to survive the front line. London, if they do go for a secondary fight, try and return some of the favor to Viperio around this dragon, they won't have that front line to play around. I think they probably have to give this up now on this potential Ocean Soul point. In fact, actually, Viperio is saying, actually, screw that. Let's go for some mid lane priority, see if we can get something.
Let's push in this middle lane. 26 seconds till Drake, 26 seconds until Victorio comes back online. He
doesn't
will have
to
to teleport.
importantly.
He will by the time he gets back up, I think. Maybe 5 or 6 seconds either side.
Well, I mean, now it's going to be a race to say, okay, Viperio, right, how quickly can you kill this dragon? Because there will be a feast on a very chunky Cho'Gath. And, but it looks like the rest of the team are instead moving up towards the top side of the map. In fact, Articuno saying, well, let's try and get top lane inner and get ourselves a tower somewhere.
Teleport just about to come online for Victorio, but they've already taken the Drake. The Drake is already down. That is Ocean Soul point for both of our teams. 5 minutes until Ocean Soul for one of these teams. It is at almost 4,000 gold lead for Viperio. 3 towers to 4 as we edge towards that 35-minute mark. It is hauntingly close.
So, it's your first week back. We just have to get the mileage out of you, you know? We're thinking, this game's a little bit short. I mean, we can just ask the teams to, you know, just take a bit longer in this next game, right? Well, glad to have you still on this desk. We've got to get the most out of those vocal cords for this first week for you.
And it's just wave clear duty from both these teams. You have Killikin on this Victor, and he could just keep clearing the wave. You have Kaz with the W empowered autos, and it's just waiting for objectives to spawn so you can fight over them.
Yeah,
and
it is.
Maybe try and end.
Because both these teams are happy to... Well, there's really been no huge fights fighting around Vision, because both these teams have managed to disengage successfully. Now we're getting into real late game item points now, because we have, that's an 80% crit Xayah with an Infinity Edge, the Lord Dominic's Regards amongst everything else. If Kaz actually gets to DPS in fights and doesn't have to blow their defensive summoners and ultimate early, these fights are going to go really, really high into those damage numbers. Cho'Gath is tanky in their own right, don't get me wrong, but we saw what happens when they tried to tank up 4 or 5 members at the same time. They're just not tanky enough. They buy time. They're not just going to live forever.
Definitely not, and when Victoria can just be picked off like we saw a couple of minutes ago, you know that if you misposition even slightly, you can lose the team fight, you can lose the game for your team.
Well, speaking of those team fights and the objectives, Senna is 1 soul away from that 80 soul mark. That's what we're saying. That's where actually Senna starts becoming a bit of a problem. The range is very excessive. Let's see if any souls drop from this wave. Almost certainly will do. Once it gets to that point, I'm wondering whether Kumakum is actually going to be the primary target after that point. There you go. Range upgrade achieved by this Senna.
Teleport coming in from Articuno towards the middle lane. Baron has spawned. Are they going to go directly onto it? The answer is no.
It's so dangerous versus a Neeko with Flash. If you end up grouping up for the perfect Neeko ultimate, this team fight can just fall apart for Viperio.
Leona has her ult. Xena played. It's on to Johnny Rico. He's down to half health already. He will have to use his ultimate to get to safety. Both top laners are in the bottom lane.
But he just heals up from a camp. So actually, all that is an objective trait. It means that now the Hecarim can't get over the pit if it is started, but now you're playing without Solar Flare, without the Dawning Shadow, and that means that London United are taking a risky Baron and hoping that the steal can't come through.
Teleport coming in, Baron down to half health already. Thresh cannot hit a hook this time. It is smited down. In4 is onto the backline. He doesn't have the Narbar. Gets the flash out of the Heathen. He goes forward. He's looking for the engage, but he just gets minced himself. He is resurrecting. This team fight is scrappy. It is divided. Gets the hook. Now onto the Victorio. Onto the Cho'Gath. It is a 1-for-1, but it's a support traded for top laner, and you have 4 Baron buffs.
This is a big win for London. I didn't think it would go that cleanly. Losing the GA, losing the life of In4, that's bad enough. I mean, in that fight, Kaz found it really hard to get in, but didn't particularly help themselves, altered those feathers backwards. Again, sometimes it looks bad, but then you're saying, okay, well, the untargetable feature of the ult is more important, but then cleanses late and then doesn't really get much DPS uptime. Killikin is trying so hard in these fights to be the main damage source, where Kaz is struggling now to really get a clean team fight. Viperio will now have to probably fight over this dragon in a minute. That's the next big thing. Will Ocean Soul be the winning factor for these teams?
If they play that team fight out like they did before, if they can play it like they got the Baron, London United might actually get the victory in a game that they looked so far behind.
They looked out of it. There was a 5,000 gold deficit. The center was irrelevant. They've managed to hold on to the point where they can, and the Haas with these hooks, which have been so accurate this game, misses an important one there. That could have been a big pick.
14 seconds till Drake spawns. Teleport. No one teleported. I thought I heard a teleport there. In 4, he gets a flash away. That's the engage they were looking for. Cho'Gath already dead to rights as Kaz gets some damage off of the team fight. The Solar Flare goes down, but he's already gone golden. Mauer has to try and get away. And Viperio, they find the team fight win. They got a team fight win like we wanted them to. The triple kill for Kaz. They get the Ocean Soul. Baron be damned. Kumikum, the only one left standing. Haas wants to chase him down.
He's trying to. Actually, they're going to run into each other. That's a mistake.
Missed the hook. Johnny Rico doesn't have his ultimate. He gets away.
So actually, Senna ends up living. Okay, so Viperio find themselves a clean team fight for pretty much the first time since maybe that 3rd dragon, I suppose, earlier into the game. They're going to take themselves a middle inhib. With the death time, is that only the Senna alive? They might try and end.
They're gonna try their best, and it is 10 seconds till the next member of London United is back up. It will be the Cho'Gath. They gotta back away. They do have quite low health bars.
I think the Baron buff saves them.
And available.
I think the Baron buff literally saves them. If they get that pick onto Kunkum, I think that game ends, but it does manage to juke out the hook from Haas, and the game somehow, someway, goes on.
They need to back and spend all of the gold that they got there, especially Kaz. He should be able to finish off the Executioner's item. He has almost 3,000 gold.
I mean, this is the kind of point where I'm actually wondering whether something like Navori Quick Blades is really, really high value for someone like Kaz. It's an expensive item, but getting an extra 30 ability haste, your ultimate is off of cooldown more often, and giving you more Ws and continual E uptime, it can be really important in these fights. However, the healing reduction, of course, does end up becoming a big factor, and with the attack speed you have no real issues proccing those 3 attacks onto the same target in a row to get the 60% Grievous Wounds.
Haas just struggling to find these engages all of a sudden.
You could feel the tension, honestly. You can feel the tension. It's because these fights have been really hard won. Whoever's won them, they've had to work really, really hard for it. Victorio is very tanky, but it's just not tanky enough now to deal with the high DPS items coming out of Hyperio. This Victor is massively, massively fed. 8, 1, and 10 Killikin has been performing very well this game, even after a laning phase where Articuno was almost soling killing them a number of times. The question is, with the Ocean Soul, the Viper finally have a game-breaking advantage because it was still awfully close in that last fight.
It really, really was, and I think it was surprisingly close given how these teams have been playing in the last few minutes. I didn't think that it was going to be such a decisive victory for Viperio, but Kaz was left unadmonished in that team fight. He was just standing there. He's like, okay, I can pump out the damage with my W with my 5 now items. Fully completed, level 18, he is doing a lot of damage.
Yeah, so, I mean, if we cast our minds back to the first matchup between these two teams, I mean, as I think I'm right in saying that, actually, that was one of the longest games of the split, too. I think we had the latest Soul before this game happened was in actually the first matchup between these two teams. They really have managed to get a lot of time on the Rift against each other, and they don't make it easy. Of course, London did take that first match. It was in week 1, so Viper are looking to even up that head-to-head, too, but it is by no means done and dusted. They have a lead, but it has not ended the game so far.
No, not just yet, and it's a full build for Infor in that top lane, building towards that full build for Victorio. I think it's safe to say he'll be a bit tankier now that he has that Gargoyle
Stone Plate, yeah.
So that will make him a lot tankier in this upcoming team fight. Blue gets stolen away, but it's only minor little things like that at this point. The gold getting to a stage where it really doesn't matter.
Yeah, because if you talk about the percentage gold lead, it's relatively low for Viperio. It's not like you're having a big lead earlier into the game. Hooks are missing, and people are getting out of dodge for free. Solar Flare is used. That was a bit of a frantic couple of seconds.
It's just sidestepped by Killikin. That is one of your engage options just not available. Yet another hook missing. Haas, you gotta try and hold the trigger on that one and just wait until it's a little bit easier maybe. London, they don't want to put a foot wrong, just throwing out a nice amount of poke. Senna does have a decent range at this point as well. Looks like they're just moving over to the Baron, going to establish some of their own vision around this objective. Are they going to start it off? It looks like they're trying to bait it in.
Meganar's down now. They have a GA on M4, but they need to wait to build that up again. Viperio have shown restraint in the past, and they've tried to play slowly with all their cards available, but without the Meganar bar now, I'm not sure they want this.
They started it off level 18 to level 18 for both these junglers. Victorio goes forward. Flash is still available. Feast is still available if they want to go for this objective. If they want to try and contest. Very good point.
Gargoyle Chomp gonna hurt.
Narbar down to half. 2,000 health left on the Baron. It goes over to the side of Viperio. Victorio picks off the Thresh. Can they get the team fight win with this Baron? The answer is an emphatic yes. A triple kill now for Kaz. Looking for even more. But the Senna damage is just disgusting in this late game. It's a shutdown from Kaz. He can't get the pentakill today. Kumikkum and
That
Mauer
saves the game.
shoving up the middle
Kumikkum
lane.
in the last couple of fights somehow saved things from absolute disaster, but he's going, oh no!
Oh, the burst damage from Mauer. He is a late game Graves. And look at the range from Kumikkum. He is at...
But that was all on the smoke screen.
He's
They don't get the
118
eat-out, they
stacks.
don't get the Q, they don't manage to get any of the damage down because that would have been a one-shot potentially from Killikin. Mauer saving his AD carry just as the AD carry saves the game.
Nightmare, he's at 118 stacks all of a sudden.
But this gives them a chance to take on Elder. What happened to this huge fight once
They gotta
again?
give up.
This is for the second or third time for Viperio, a team fight that in the first act seems to have done well, but in all good players, of course, there has to be a twist somewhere, and acts 2 and 3 are going the side of London more often than not.
120 soul stacks now on
Huge.
Kumikkum Senna. That is massive. Massive.
It's huge.
For London United.
It is, because you could see what was happening with the Cavs, trying to run after them, but if you don't end up getting into range very, very quickly, you die. At this point in the game now, Senna is at the point where you can be a damage threat to all of these backliners from Viperio in the Xayah and the Victor. Viperio need to find themselves a way to outlast this Elder Dragon now, and his comeback's very even gold again.
You have to feel that there's almost no way to try and survive this. They have the Elder Drake, and in a team fight that they were going to win anyway from the looks of things. They just cannot be stopped from pushing into this base.
But this time, they don't have Victor Flash to try and go forward and kill the Senna. Senna is at a point where the range is just so hard to outplay.
They gotta play it safe, they gotta back away. They took an inhib. They can rotate towards this bottom lane or rotate towards this top. No, they're just gonna go straight back in. They know they have
They've got the buffs. They have the game-ending
Elder
buffs.
Drake. There's the engage, gets the flash of pass. It's not quite the engage that they were looking for. They're just gonna push the waves out, but there's so much wave clear coming out from Viperio, they're just holding on for the time being.
We're looking for some godlike plays out of Viperio now, really to try and face against this this team of London United. The Baron buff has at least consisted for Viperio, but it has just fallen off now.
In goes the Solar Flare. That's the engage. That's the trigger point, but they don't go for it. Articuno already picked off pass. Look at that ultimate coming in from Articuno. It does so much work. It absorbs so much pressure.
Whoa,
but in for Kumikkum. He's picked off, and this is the miracle that we were waiting for Viperio.
Wait, can they top lane?
What is going on in this game?
We give you only the best games, Zoro, and you come back on the UKEL. Viperio determined not to have a reprisal of their performance in Week 1 versus this very team, but London are taking it to the wire. I don't know whether they can end off this. They're damn well trying.
Look at those death timers, 35 seconds until the next member of London United is back up. Only one Nexus Tower available. They can damn well do it. They will win this game. Holy, what? It's frozen.
It's frozen. Oh, we had denied the Nexus explosion, but as far as I can tell, that does mean game ends in favor of Viperio. What a game.
What? That's insane.
I mean, we only save you the best. That's what we've been saying the entire day long. We save you the best, and are you not entertained, UKEL?
Wow. Wow. What a game. I was
mean,
for sure certain that it was going to go in favor of London United. They had the Elder Drake, but they didn't back out. They didn't close it out in the clean sort of macro sense. They didn't 1-4 go bot and top. They decided to barrel down the middle lane and just completely throw.
But they lost with Elder.
Yeah.
Somehow they lost with Elder, all things said and done. It came from, I think Articuno going a little too deep on the Nico, had a stopwatch, but that was on like 200 HP. By that point, Kaz had feathers down absolutely everywhere. Just got the confirmation that it was, of course, a Viperio win. Always a chance that things go a little bit crazy. We saw crazy things during that game, but now, I mean, Viperio maintaining that record of only losing to Demise outside of that week 1. Of course, London have had that win in week 1, but with the return facing, it does seem like Viperio have found their recent run of form and continued it. But it is not an assured thing. There are a lot of close games. And when we're talking about looking for the second best team in the UKEL, it's being pretty hard fought for right now.
Very hard fought. Very hard fought. I think that was 2 quadra kills, or what? It was like 1 quadra kill for Kaz, and I think he got like a triple kill there or something.
I think it was a triple for Kaz before they were shut down by Kum around that Baron fight. I'm actually, well, we'll have numbers on that at some point, but oh my word, that's the kind of game where it is just so hard to like remember the entirety of it, because there were like
almost
half a dozen to 10. Yeah, there's like a half a dozen to like 10 plays which completely changed the direction of the next couple of minutes, and sometimes they happen back to back.
So, difficult question, perhaps, or maybe not. MVP for that game, my friend.
It's Killikin. It's always going to be Killikin that game, because while Haas had wonderful laning stage stats, and then Infor similarly had some big team fights, Killikin was the one player that consistently towed the line in terms of being the DPS threat, and of course they were enabled with their draft.
Yeah.
There was that small snafu with the flash into the smoke screen, which might have lost themselves the game in a different scenario, but honestly this Victor performance was really hard to overcome from London, because they were trying to dive in, have the range advantage, but Victor was also very long range, and really took them to town.
And does a deceptively large amount of damage.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Most damage in the game. Yeah, it did.
Yeah.
So in a 50-minute game, what was the actual end game timestamp?
I think it was 48 minutes 40 seconds or something around that.
So in that case, Killikin is the one player that game who, in a competitive setting, cracked 1,000 damage per minute, came in at 49,799 damage. Second place was that Senna from Kum at 43,000.
Almost double Flame Horizon, and did that amount of damage. I mean,
it's huge.
I have to give the clap to I have to clap for Kum, you know.
Absolutely. No, I mean, this was an even game. This is not saying these players outperformed in every role and were stalwarts of their team. Well, okay, yeah, it was a close game. This was a very close game. This could have turned at any different point. One of these team fights goes differently, and the whole game could change, right? I mean, this was a game where Viperio were largely in the lead coming up to, you know, the third and fourth dragon fights, and particularly after them. But this was a game where London United came back and really made a game of it. So I'm really excited to see how both these teams move forward into that next week.
I'm really excited to watch. I'm kind of sitting here in anticipation of the oncoming weeks to see how Viperio and London United progress, because that was tooth and nail and claw, and they threw kitchen sinks at each other because that's, you know, they had nothing left to give. It does move London United to 3-5 and Viperio to 5-3, so I think that leaves Viperio at this stage uncontested for second spot in the UKEL, if I'm not mistaken, at 5-3.
I believe you are right. I'm just trying to remember if looking through everything. I think Hive are actually equal with them. I'm just trying to look at the results from the entirety of the week. But we've had a really back and forth thing, and yes, of course, that will still be, of course, Viperio in the second place burst. I'm just trying to remember the results from Hive from the rest of the week. We're starting to split up that main pack. That's the big thing from this week.
Just a little bit. But I think that even when we're splitting up the center of the pack, that there is a lot to be played for, even if you are down by a couple of wins. Like
exactly. I mean,
Mythos, they're sitting down at kind of the bottom of the table, and same for Monster Rugby Gaming. But that doesn't mean that they're down and out.
I mean, we came into this week saying, yeah, one good week or one bad week can really separate these teams. That can happen for the next, couple of weeks too, right? We're only past the halfway mark. If you just flip your performance from the first round robin, you're still going to be, in contention with things if you're on the lower end of things. I mean, that's where we get miracle runs. That's where we get some of our best storylines. Mm-hmm. Mythos and Monster Rugby, they're not out of it yet. And looking at how some of these teams have struggled in mid and late games, heck, sometimes in the laning phase too, there are points to be exploited, and a good enough trajectory of improvement from any of these teams can see them planted firmly into playoffs.
Yeah, and we saw Demise fumble earlier today when they lost.
Exactly.
So, gods can bleed, kings can fall, all to be played for.
Don't remind me of that
wins,
that one movie.
Wins count quite a lot. It's kind of obvious, but you know, had to be said. But that will be it from us for this week here at the UKEL. We'll be back on Thursday for more UKEL action. Check us out on Twitter and all our other social media. We'll see you all on Thursday. Have a good night.